everyone. I'm John Miller. It's baseball weather in Cleveland, and the people here, well, they've got baseball fever. This stadium has been packed every night all week long for the red-hot Cleveland Indians. Eddie Murray, the great veteran, he is closing in on a career milestone. They've got all kinds of stories here. Murray yesterday with this base hit against the Yankees moved one step closer to a milestone, 3,000 hits. Now he's just 11 away. With me, Hall of Famer Joe Morgan. Eddie Murray will soon be there in Cooperstown with you, Joe. Now with 2008, 989 hits. Jack McDowell will try to shut him down. McDowell, a very fine right-hander, but he's going to have his work cut out for him against this Cleveland club.
Well, this Cleveland club is awesome. Let's start with the right-handed power. Yesterday, Albert Bell hit a home run, and he hit lots of home runs, but hit this one in yesterday's ball game. This was after Manny Ramirez had hit a two-run homer, also from the right side, to put the Indians ahead. Now, look at the left-handed power. You have Eddie Murray, of course. You have Lofton. You have Tomei. You have so many good hitters. Sorrento. They're all hitting close to 300. They're all in double figures in home runs. Just an excellent ball club. And when Eddie Murray accomplishes the 3,000 hits and the 500 home runs, only Willie Mays and Hank Aaron has preceded him in those categories.
He's got a shot to do both. Now, for Cleveland, remember all that great hitting that Joe's been talking about, but they also lead the American League in pitching. And Charles Nagy is one of their very best, a tough right-hander facing the Yankees tonight. Got a very good forkball.
And he's one of the best-kept secrets in the American League. He has been the leader of this staff for a long time. But he'll have to face the likes of Paul O'Neill, who was last year's American League batting champion, Don Mattingly, Wade Boggs. And the good thing for Mattingly, he says he's been feeling well. He's starting to swing the bat better, and he should do something special in the next few days.
The Yankees went 9-0 against Cleveland last year, and they've won one out of the first two here, so we'll see what happens. Happy Father's Day, everyone. There's the view of Jacobs Field here in downtown Cleveland, and all roads lead to Jacobs Field these days here in Ohio. The red-hot Cleveland Indians, 34-12, and the ballpark has been jam-packed all week. The Red Sox come here tomorrow, and that series is already sold out. In the American League Central, Cleveland, despite a very strong showing by the Kansas City Royals, nonetheless, the Royals are 7.5 games out. They were beaten by Oakland today. Over in the East, Boston, a winner today. Detroit, kind of a surprise in second place. And the Yankees down near the bottom with the slumping Orioles, who lost their 7th in a row today. And Buck Showalter may be in the hot seat. How long can you have a losing record with the Yankees and remain manager of the Yankees? And that's a question only George Steinbrenner can answer. For the Yankees, here is Buck Showalter's batting order. Luis Polonia left field. Wade Boggs hits second and third. Paul O'Neill in right field. Mike Stanley hits cleanup. Mattingly at first base hitting fifth. Danny Tartabull, the DH. Tony Fernandez back from the disabled list hitting seventh. Randy Velarde is a second baseman hitting eighth. And Bernie Williams is in center field hitting ninth. On the mound for Cleveland, there's the right-hander, Charles Nagy.
And there's Charles Nagy. Like I said, one of the best-kept secrets in the American League. Let's take a look at his grips and the pitches that he throws. Well, we'll take a look at him a little later on because they're about ready to start down there.
So Luis Polonia will come up. You see Nagy 4-2. He pitched a real strong one here last Monday against the Baltimore Orioles and won that ball game 4-3. He went 7 innings, allowed only 1 earned run, and had 7 strikeouts, only 1 walk.
Well, what he has to do is keep the ball down, and he has a good sinker, and that's the pitch that he'll need against the left-handers on the late from the Yankees.
Luis Polonia off to a real slow start this year. That's a very poor batting average for him. And he takes strike one called. And already you're going to hear how the crowd is into a ball game here, into every pitch. A very lively crowd. They've certainly got pennant fever, and they're entitled to it here in Cleveland.
They've waited since 1954, so I guess so.
They haven't won a pennant since '54. They haven't even been in a pennant race come September since 1959. Not even a pennant race. And it's too low with a fastball. 2-1 the count. Cleveland has won 17 of its last 20. And here in Cleveland, people are a little nervous even that they're doing so well because they've had so much disappointment in years past. That is a foul out of play off to the left.
Let's take a look at the pitch grips for Nagy. That's the sinker. And he also throws a four-seam fastball, throws a split-fingered fastball. This is his curveball or breaking ball, and he throws a circle changeup. Those are his pitches, but his sinker has to be working.
There's that breaking ball, but he just missed outside with it. Full count to Polonia, which is what every manager likes to see from his leadoff hitter to start a game. Make that guy show his repertoire. 3-2. Still 3-2 as he fouled that one back.
One of the things you will see from Nagy is when he throws the curveball to the left-handed hitter, he will try to throw what they call the backdoor curve. He'll start off the plate outside, and he'll try to get the outside corner with it.
Well, Polonia has drawn a leadoff walk to get the Yankees started.
And let's take a look at the defense for the Cleveland Indians. They had 2 Gold Glove winners last year. And Omar Vizquel at shortstop and Kenny Lofton in center field. 2 very good defensive players. And if you're going to nitpick about this ball club, you'd have to start and say the only problems they may have during the course of the year is defense. They're next to last in the American League as far as errors is concerned. Only the White Sox have a worse defensive record so far.
Wade Boggs hitting .285. Fastball is high. Tony Pena behind the plate. In the absence of Sandy Alomar, who's been on the disabled list all year. Now Pena will run out and talk to Nagy. But even losing Alomar, who they figure will hit a lot better than what Pena has been hitting, Pena still is excellent at handling a pitching staff.
Very good handler of pitchers. He calls a good game, keeps his pitcher in the ball game, as you see. Right away he runs out and talks to Nagy, stays on top of him, and he demands that they concentrate very hard.
There's Mike Hargrove, the manager of this Cleveland ball club. Albert Bell in left field. And Wade Boggs is out number 1.
John, one of the things I've always questioned about, a guy like Boggs, who is such a great hitter, is that he doesn't try to pull the ball when he has that hole on the right side. Because your normal second place hitter, if he's left-handed, would try to hit the hole on the right side. That would put runners at first and third. But Boggs is pretty much a straightaway hitter. So therefore, I wonder why they don't hit and run more with him.
Especially with Polonia, who's a pretty good base stealer over there. Here's O'Neill, and Nagy steps off the slab, looking Polonia back. Polonia has 6 steals for the Yanks in 7 attempts. Beautiful day in Cleveland. Got near 90 degrees in downtown Cleveland, here near the shores of Lake Erie. That's Sorrento. In 1 at second. Vizquel back to Nagy. Swing!
He missed the bag at first base. The throw was there in plenty of time, but you can see he says, I'm not even going to argue with you. Right there is where you step. Good point there.
Well, that's a very difficult play.
Yes,
for a pitcher on the move.
Well, the pitcher's moving. Now he has to catch the ball and find first base. And you can see clearly that he is off the bag. He does not tag the bag. He's there in plenty of time, but you see both feet are off the bag when he makes the catch.
I mean, if he touched it at all, it was before he got the ball.
Yeah, before, after the ball was in the air.
Now here is Mike Stanley. O'Neill at first, 2 down. Strike 1. Stanley is hitting .289, 5 homers, 23 batted in. And when they're healthy, this is still a pretty good-looking lineup. But Polonia, Boggs, Stanley, Mattingly, Tarnable have all been below what you would figure. Now, if you believe that guys will generally get back to where they usually finish, and the Yankees will start hitting much better as the season goes along. Boggs figures to go up 40 or 50 points even from where he is. But then again, it's very difficult to forecast anything this year with the shortened spring. A guy like Boggs sat out for 8 months in the strike, and he's never done that in his life before. So it's difficult to predict how these people are going to fare this year.
But he does have a track record that you can point at, and you would think that that he's going to hit well over the entire season.
Nagy misses. It is 3-1 to Stanley with Mattingly on deck.
But John, the question I have is, if you're a team that does not hit a lot of home runs, the Yankees are lacking some power, and you do not have a lot of speed, I think you have to hit and run. You have to figure a way to manufacture runs. You can't play station-to-station baseball.
Buck Showalter, the Yankees just have not had any kind of speed at all, but they have actually hit with much more power. Last year, they led Major League Baseball in offense. They scored a ton of runs, and they figured that they would again, but it hasn't worked out that way.
But remember, we pointed out earlier this year that last year they didn't have a lot of injuries early in the season. Now they've had injuries.
O'Neill running, and the 3-2 pitch is ball 4, the second walk of the inning by Nagy. So he starts off struggling with his control here, and now Mattingly will try and deliver some offense for the Yankees. Mattingly hitting only .263. He's had a lot of ailments that have slowed him down, but as he told you, Joe, he said he's healthy now.
Well, he says he's been seeing the ball well for about a week now. But the problem is, when he was not seeing the ball well, he developed a lot of bad habits. And he's trying to correct those now that he can see the ball well again.
He had actual eye trouble. That's a base hit to center field. Here comes O'Neill around third, and he'll score as Lofton comes up with it. And Don Mattingly, first ball swinging, gets his 14th RBI of the season. It is 1-0 New York.
Well, Mattingly talked about the ball running away from him and going back to center field before the game. He said Nagy throws a good sinker away. This pitch is diving away, and he does not try to pull it, just lines it straight back through the middle for a base hit. That's what good hitters will do with a tough pitch.
Here is Danny Tartabull, and look at those numbers. Terrible. .229 average. 3 homers, 18 driven in. He whacks one down the left field line. That one is off the base of the wall. Stanley's in to score. Mattingly into third, and a stand-up double for Tartabull. And both Mattingly and Tartabull have had first pitch base hits with RBIs. 2-0 New York.
Well, you mentioned Tartabull had been struggling, but he gets a pitch that he likes here, and he just attacks it. Looks like a sinker that really didn't sink. And Tartabull really ripped it down the left field line. It hits the wall, and he has a double. Mattingly goes to third, and the Yankees score their second run here in the top of the first inning. But remember one thing, the game doesn't start here in Cleveland until they get down 4-0, John.
Yeah. Cleveland has won 11 games in its final at-bat, including 5 where they were trailing in the 8th or 9th innings. I mean, this club's ability to come from behind has been uncanny. Danny Tartabull, one of the few times I think he's been able to smile in this 1995 season. George Steinbrenner, the Yankee owner, criticized him publicly earlier this year. And Tartabull, supposedly, according to the New York papers, asked out a one-ball game last weekend, saying that just he was in such a poor mental state that he couldn't help the club that day. And there's a ball, and the Yankees have made no secret of their attempts to trade Danny Tartabull. There's Tony Fernandez, who's also had injury problems, just recently coming back from the disabled list. And we know Fernandez is a much better hitter than 200. Switch hitter, batting left-handed, 2 runs in. And that fastball is over the outside. By the way, we're talking about Mattingly and his eye problems. Mattingly suffered a viral infection in his right eye. He actually had to go to Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore for some treatment. And he missed a number of games, and that's right at the time that the Yankees went to the West Coast and fell apart. Right after he got that injury, they lost 9 out of 10 on the West Coast, and they really haven't recovered since.
Well, make no mistake about it, when you take someone like Mattingly out of any lineup, it's going to hurt. I mean, it just throws them off kilter. And I think that's part of the problem. They've just had too many injuries to have a consistent offense this year.
2-1 to Fernandez. And 3-1. Fernandez, this guy's always been tough in the clutch. He was with the Reds in the National League. And when he went back to Toronto, he helped them win another World Series a couple of years ago with some great hitting. Had a great World Series, in fact, against the Phillies. 3-1. And he draws the walk. That is the 3rd walk of the inning, allowed by Nagy. The bases are loaded. 2 runs already in. And, Joe, we have an early moment in this game that you could classify as perhaps a key moment here.
Well, it is a key moment because, I mean, with Jack McDowell on the mound, and Jack has started to pitch well for the Yankees, The Indians should not fall too far behind if they expect to come back. But I think he walked Tony Fernandez there, John, because he didn't want to give in to him with first base open and a right-handed hitter coming up next. So he threw him a 2-1, 3-1 curveball.
This is Randy Velarde. Low, missing badly with the fastball. Now, ordinarily, Pat Kelly would be up here for the Yankees. A very fine second baseman, but on May 31st, he went on the disabled list with a torn ligament in his left wrist. And Kelly was one of the few Yankees who was off to a fast start. He was hitting .315. So Velarde is in there hitting .225. Well, he helped him. Chased a bad one. How does that happen?
Well, what happens is he misses with the first pitch. You say, well, he's going to give me a good pitch to hit now, and I'm going to jump all over it. He throws the pitch you're looking for, which is a fastball, but you chase it. A lot of times you look for a curveball, you swing at it one in the dirt. You look for a fastball, you swing at one that's out of the strike zone.
Way outside with the breaking ball. 2-1. 3 men on, 2 men down. There's Mattingly, who drove in the first run. He's at third. Tartable, who drove in the second run, at second. Fernandez, who walked at first. And the Cleveland bullpen is getting busy. All 3 of the runners ready to go on anything here with 2 down. Yanks ahead 2-0. Mike Hargrove wondering what's happened to his fine right-hander. And 3-1. And Pena will run out to talk to him. There's Jason Grimsley, the right-hander, warming up in the Cleveland bullpen. By the way, Cleveland made a move today. They brought up Greg Olson, the former closer for the Baltimore Orioles, who've been in Buffalo for them, and they sent out Dennis Cook to bring in Olson. They designated Dennis Cook for assignment. The bullpen's been a real strength for them this year. And it goes to 3-2. So now they'll all be running. Mike Hargrove, that's Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, alongside Charles Nagy, trying to get out of a terrible jam. The runners go. Right to the second baseman, Baerga. Plenty of time. And he gets out of the jam. Only the 2 for the Yankees. And now we'll get a look at that high-powered Cleveland offense against Jack McDowell. Lofton coming up. From Jacobs Field in Cleveland, Sunday Night Baseball. Yankees 2, Cleveland coming up against Jack McDowell. Mike Hargrove, knowing that his ball club is capable of scoring plenty of runs. First in the league at hitting. And runs scored and home runs. Kenny Lofton in center. Omar Vizquel at short. Then the power. Carlos Baerga, Albert Bell, Eddie Murray, Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, Paul Sorrento. Once you get into that power, seems like you're into it for the rest of the night. And Tony Pena hits 9th. He's the catcher. From Baerga to Sorrento, all 6 of those guys are big-time home run and RBI men and 300 hitters as well. There's Jack. Numbers not very good, but he could well have won 3 or 4 more games. We asked McDowell before the game to describe his repertoire for us.
Fastball, which I kind of hold in between a four-seam and a cross-seam fastball. A split-fingered fastball, which I hold with the seams, and a curveball, which is pretty much your basic grip, so that I keep one finger off top.
Well, here he goes down to Kenny Lofton, probably the best leadoff man in the game right now, and he takes a strike call. Lofton at .337.
John, you look at the record of McDowell, and he's 2-4, but he could easily be 4-2. He's had some games where he's pitched well enough to win, but the bullpen couldn't hold it. And I talked to Tony Cloninger, the pitching coach, and he said there's real problems have happened this year when he would hang the splitter. He couldn't get it down.
That's a major pitch for him. He'll throw that at almost any time. 2-1 to Kenny Lofton. Lofton last year won his 3rd consecutive American League stolen base title and his 2nd straight Gold Glove award, and he hit .349 last year before the strike. This could be tough, and nobody's there.
Well, this is what speed will do to you. Indecision on the part of the defense. The speedy Kenny Lofton, he knows where he's going. The rest of them do not. Now, McDowell breaks off to the right side. He doesn't know whether to go get it or to cover first. Mattingly the same way. He doesn't know whether to go get it or to cover first base, and Lofton gets a base hit. I want to correct something there. I said that Tony Cloninger was the pitching coach. He's actually the bullpen coach who is very close to the pitchers as they warm up out there, and Billy Connors is the pitching coach.
Omar Vizquel comes up now. Vizquel, a switch hitter, hitting .249, 4 homers, 22 batted in. He's one of the 2 hitters in this batting order. The teams look at when they face Cleveland and say, you've got to pitch to these guys. These are the 2 guys you've got to get out. Right. Don't ever walk them. And yet, Vizquel can be tougher than you might think, and he's had a very hot week. He drove in both of Cleveland's runs here in the Friday game of the Yanks, which the Yankees won 4-2 in the 9th inning, breaking a tie. Last year, the Yankees went 9-0 against Cleveland. And, of course, over the years, Indians fans have a long memory of the Yankees coming in here and destroying the home team. 2-0 Yanks ahead, and Lofton back to the bag again. Lofton with 15 steals has not been running as well this year as he has in the past. Had some leg problems. However, he says right now he's back running as well as he ever has. So we'll see.
Well, he's been caught 8 times, so 15 and 8, not a good percentage.
There he goes. Strike ball. He's got number 60.
I like to see that in a base stealer. McDowell threw over there a couple of times, but as soon as he made his move to the plate, Lofton was off with the pitch. So it means that he had a good read on it, good jump, good throw there by Stanley, just not in time. Good jump there by Lofton. 90% of the bases are stolen off of the pitchers and not the catchers anyway.
And McDowell has had some problems at holding base stealers close. Fernandez trying to keep Lofton close at second. That ball is fouled back by Vizquel. 1 ball and 2 strikes with the big guns coming up. Now, when you face this Cleveland club, if you're a pitcher, I mean, number one, you hope that your club gets a lot of runs.
Right.
And, I mean, it's damage control from the beginning. I mean, you just try to limit the damage you face this Cleveland club.
Offensive teams that can intimidate a pitching staff, and the Cleveland Indians are one of those teams. And you can see it in the way that the pitcher throws to these hitters. He's afraid to make mistakes. He tries to be more careful, and when you're more careful, you make more mistakes.
2-2 the count. Fernandez breaks in behind the runner at second, and McDowell steps off the slant. It's the other aspect. I mean, Lofton is very distracting to a pitcher. On deck, then Bell, then Murray. Down the right field line, hooking, and back in amongst the spectators. Foul. 2-2. Now, one thing about this Cleveland club to keep in mind, Baerga, Bell, and Murray. I mean, few teams have a better 3-4-5 combination in their batting order than those 3. I mean, Albert Bell, one of the great sluggers in the game today. Murray has been for years. But then you get through them, and you got Thome, Ramirez, and Sorrento. Those 3 have hit even more home runs. Popped up foul back behind the plate. Stanley gives chase, but it's over the screen and out of play. Thome, Ramirez, and Sorrento, hitting 6, 7, and 8, have combined for 38 home runs. Ramirez and Thome 13 apiece. Sorrento 12.
That is special.
I mean, a lot of teams like to have those guys hitting 3, 4, 5 for them. There's Albert Bell, the cleanup hitter. He hadn't even really gotten hot yet this year. Baerga before Bell. And McDowell bluffing Lofton back to the bag at second. 2-0. The Yankees ahead. Now McDowell would really like to shut down Cleveland in this first inning and hold that lead. There's the pickoff, and Lofton is back.
Well, Fernandez has been trying to hold Lofton close at second base. He's been faking and doing a lot of things. Finally, he gets McDowell to throw back there. But the problem remains that when you concentrate on the runner, you're taking a little of your concentration away from the hitter.
That's a base Here comes Lofton for the plate, and O'Neill will not throw. Just like that, Cleveland has a run back. Now the power is coming up.
When you talked about Lofton being maybe the best leadoff man in baseball right now, that's a great example of what he does. He singles, steals second, and scores on a base hit. Fastball up, and Vizquel just pulled in the hole to drive in the first run of the ball game for the Indians.
And again, Vizquel supposedly one of the outs in the batting order, and yet that's his 23rd RBI, which is not bad for a number 2 hitter. He would be tied for second best on the Yankees club with that many. Here is Carlos Baerga coming up. Vizquel also a guy who could steal a base. He has 8 steals for the year, although he's been caught 5 times. Baerga, a switch hitter, hitting .323. 8 homers, 31 batted in. A strike on the outside. Al Clark is the home plate umpire. Larry Barnett at first. Greg Kosk at second. Dan Morrison umpiring at third. 2-1 the score. And you got Baerga. Baerga, .382 lifetime against McDowell. He has become one of the best offensive second basemen in all of the majors. Get credit competition going with Roberto Alomar of the Blue Jays.
They're actually completely different type players. They're both winning type players, but they get the job done differently. Baerga can just destroy you with his bat by hitting, the ball out of the ballpark. Roberto Alomar is more of a part of an offensive force on the team.
Left center, Polonia. Number 1, Vizquel tags up and bluffs towards second, and then stops as Polonia gets it back in. So Baerga gone, and now Albert Bell comes up. And when Bell strides to the plate in this park, everybody pays attention. Albert Bell. He is 28 years of age, out of Louisiana State University. Last year, before the strike, he was hitting .357 with 36 homers and 101 RBIs. I mean, he was in the running for a triple crown had the season continued. Vizquel is back. Albert Bell hitting only .326 so far this year with only 11 homers. He also has 22 doubles. I say only in those figures because he had that real hot stretch here. When I say hot stretch for Bell, I mean that week where he hits 8 home runs and drives in 18 runs. He always seems to do in the past.
Well, this ballpark is perfect for him in that there you see he has a 9-game hitting streak, but this ballpark's perfect for him, John, in that he can take the ball out in right field, right center. Center fielder is not a part of this ballpark that he can't reach. So this ballpark allows him to just hit the ball where it's pitched and not have to pull everything to get it out of the ballpark. This is a great hitter's ballpark.
The forkball is in the dirt. 2-0 to Albert Bell. Well, you saw that 9-game hitting streak. He's hitting over 500 in the 9 games. So Albert may be in the beginnings of a big hot streak right now. Just a very destructive hitter, and I don't know if anybody takes a harder swing than Albert Bell up there.
But it's a controlled hard swing, John. He's controlled, and then he's very aggressive. Then he attacks the ball.
2-0, big pitch here. The short could be 2. Fernandez to second 1. Velarde to first. Double play, and the side is retired. The Yanks still lead. It's 2-1 New York. Sunday Night Baseball from Jacobs Field, Cleveland. This is John Miller with Joe Morgan. 2-1, the Yankees leading Cleveland as we head to the second inning. Bernie Williams hitting 9th in the order will be followed by Polonia and then Boggs against Charles Nagy. Williams hitting .264. And he takes ball 1 down and away. The Yankees went out to the West Coast back in May, and their record was 12-9. They lost 9 out of 10 while they were out there. That's right when Mattingly had the viral infection in his eye and couldn't play for a while. And the Yankees really haven't recovered. They have, beginning with that West Coast trip, their record is 7-18. And of course, Buck Showalter says, hey, we've had a lot of injury problems, but every team has injury problems. Look at Cincinnati. Of course, the Reds are on top of their division over the National League in the Central.
But they did have a lot of injuries, but they were just such a good ball club they could make up for it. The Yankees obviously were not good enough to make up for the injuries they sustained.
2-1. Called a strike. And Bernie thought it was too low. 2-2 the count. One thing in the Yankees' favor is that nobody in the East has run away with anything. So that the Yankees are still only 8.5 out at this point. If they were able to turn their season around, they have a shot to get right back in the race. That's a foul. Boston Red Sox defeated Milwaukee today 4-2 at Fenway Park. Boston comes in here next. And then Boston will have to go to Baltimore from here. So it's going to be an interesting week for the Red Sox on the road. The Yankees go to Baltimore from here. The teams in the East are playing one another all of a sudden. And playing Cleveland. Cleveland just swept 3 from Baltimore earlier this week. First time they had swept Baltimore in a 3-game series here in 30 years.
Well, I think the Orioles are the one that they're going to have to get their act together, because I think they felt like they had a championship team along with the Yankees, but the Yankees have had more injuries, I guess. At least they have excuses, but it really doesn't matter. They're all down in the American League East. I'm starting to believe in the Boston Red Sox.
Well, the Red Sox,
and that's hard for me.
The Red Sox went through a real bad stretch. They've been losing a lot of ball games.
They're still in good shape.
And the only team that's taken advantage of it is Detroit. That's ball 4 to Bernie Williams. And he'll go to first. And we'll send you to Carl Ravage for an update.
All right, John, thanks very much. MCI proof positive to the Sky Dome. You were talking about Baerga's offense. What about this guy? Robbie Alomar with the bases loaded to the gap. This clears them all. Parrish, Cedeno, and Molitor are in. It was a triple. Alomar, 4 RBIs on the game. Guzman gets his first win in the 7-2 final.
Roberto Alomar. Every time we see Alomar, he always gives us a lot of grief about talking up Baerga.
No, he gives you grief.
I love them both.
Yeah.
I like to watch both of them. Here's Polonia. They were both of that dream team in Puerto Rico this past winter. And what a club it was. There's Carlos Baerga. Alomar and Baerga played together. Well, Alomar played second and Baerga played mostly third base.
Right.
And they said he played great at third base. I don't think Baerga is in Alomar's class as a second baseman in terms of defense. Runner was going. Bernie Williams, the ball fouled away by Polonia and back into the lower deck. 1 ball, 1 strike to Polonia. He walked his first time, and Nagy has walked 4 in the game.
John, I don't think either team would get rid of their second baseman. I think the Blue Jays are happy with Alomar, the way he plays, and I know that the Indians are happy with Baerga, the way that he plays here in this ballpark. So they're in the right situations for each one of them.
Left center hit pretty well. Lofton way back there. Back to Baerga. He holds it as Williams gets back to the bag. What a play by Lofton. Jacobs Field is on its feet, saluting that play.
Well, that's how you win Gold Gloves. He was playing shallow because, you know, Polonia doesn't usually drive the ball. See how shallow he was? Now, he makes up a lot of ground while this ball is in the air, and he knows exactly where he is, makes the catch, then he bangs the wall. Excellent outfielder. That's how you win Gold Gloves.
Now Wade Boggs. Flied out to left his first time. Bernie Williams, the runner at first. He has 4 steals. Boggs at 283 now. A little bit below his lifetime average. Maybe 40 points, 50 points below.
Ken Griffey Jr. is how you measure all center fielders, not just in the American League, but in all of baseball, because he is the best. But Kenny Lofton runs the ball down almost as well as Griffey.
Kenny Lofton. What a story. That's a called strike 2 to Boggs. Boggs, by the way, lifetime .335 hitter. And he hit over .340 last year. 0-2, though, to Boggs. Of course, Boggs is no stranger to 0-2. He doesn't seem to be ready until he's got 2 strikes on him half the time. 2-1, the Yanks ahead, second inning. 1 out, 1 on. Baerga, the ball hits slowly. Get the 1 in second, and Vizquel has no play at first. Vizquel's got the moves of the acrobat over there at shortstop. He really has helped solidify their middle infield. Vizquel, another Gold Glove man up there.
Well, the ball was hit too slowly for a double play. You see Baerga throws to second, and because Bernie Williams is bearing down on him, Vizquel shows you the acrobatics that he has from the shortstop position.
Now Paul O'Neill. O'Neill's got a little hamstring strain right now. It's plaguing him. And Buck Showalter says he's just hoping that it doesn't get worse. It's a foul off to the right. O'Neill has also spent time in the disabled list. This guy won the batting championship last year in the American League. He has really blossomed as a hitter since coming to the American League.
Well, it took him a while, John, because they platooned him when he first got there. He took a long time to earn the right to play against left-handed pitchers.
That's right. Yeah, and you're talking even after he got to New York.
Even after, yes, after he got to New York. It took him a while. But I mean, you have to give him credit. He proved to Showalter that he could hit left-handers, and he ended up leading the league in batting. That's a great accomplishment.
O'Neill hitting .315 at the moment this year. He hit into a force play his first time tonight. And Nagy spins one in there for a called strike 2. O'Neill had a sprained right wrist that put him on the disabled list earlier this year. And the wrist is still not quite right. And he also has that little hamstring problem now. So the Yanks just have a lot of aches and pains. And they're a veteran club, which you might expect. That one is hit deep into right center field. Way back there. Way back. And gone! A home run for O'Neill. His 7th home run of the year. And it is 4-1 for New York. And this is the way the Yankees hit last year when they led the majors in offense.
Well, O'Neill is a good low ball hitter. Nagy gets this pitch down, and he drives it into right center field. He was trying to get this pitch away, but he gets it down. It's toward the middle of the plate. And as I mentioned, this is a good hitter's ballpark. Take a look at the pitch. Down, but not away enough. And Paul O'Neill drills it to right center field.
I think he knew where it was headed. He was into the trot. Here is Mike Stanley. He takes ball 1. Stanley hit a grand slam in Detroit last Tuesday. There's Paul O'Neill. O'Neill only had 107 at-bats before tonight. That stint in the disabled list. Well, there's ball 2 to Stanley.
Well, you can see Nagy's upset, John. He's overthrowing the ball now. He got a little bit upset with the pitch he made to O'Neill. Now he's trying to overpower Stanley.
4-1 New York. 2 down. Popped up. Rounded to right center. And Manny Ramirez for the out. It'll be Eddie Murray when we get back. Closing in on 3,000 hits. Yanks. Eddie Murray closing in on 3,000 hits. Only 19 players in history have had 3,000 hits. We asked Murray his thoughts on it.
Once I'm done, I think then I'll probably sit back and then kind of go, wow, or something like that. But, you know, I want more than 3,000. I mean, I'm not stopping there. And, you know, it's just a number, and that number seems like you've completed what you've, you know, wanted to accomplish there, and that's not what I want to do. I mean, I want more than 3,000. I mean, I'm here. I mean, as long as I'm happy and healthy, you want to continue to play.
Eddie Murray taking ball 1 from Jack McDowell. 4-1, the Yanks ahead. And Joe, when he says he wants more than 3,000 hits, I think what he means is not just more hits. He wants a World Series championship. He wants to go all the way with his Cleveland Ball Club.
And I tell you something else. A lot of people may say things. There's a countdown for Eddie. He needs 11 more base hits for 3,000. A lot of people say, well, they don't look at numbers, and sometimes I don't believe him. But with Eddie Murray, you know that he's not concerned with numbers. He's just concerned with playing every day and doing his job. And that's what has given him the opportunity to approach 3,000 hits and 500 home runs, just doing his job. That's the way Eddie Murray perceives it.
Showing on to Murray. Mattingly, he'll take it himself. And Murray is on number 1. Murray came into the game with a batting average of .324 this season. Got off to a great start this year. Been like old times for Eddie Murray. And on this ball club where he's got such great young talent surrounding him, it's kind of taking some of the heat off of Murray, too. He doesn't have to be the guy to drive in the big run every night with Bell and Baerga in front of him, and then Thome, Ramirez, and Sorrento behind him. They have a very good camaraderie on this ball club. A lot of these guys have come up together through the Cleveland farm system. They have grown from a bad Cleveland ball club into this outstanding club. Very tight-knit. They have a lot of fun in that clubhouse.
Yes, they do.
One another.
But again, Eddie is still kind of the focus of the clubhouse. They play jokes on him. And no matter what, John, you have all these good young sluggers around him, but he's still the rock in the middle of that lineup, and they depend on him.
Jim Thome, strike 2. Now, Thome, T-H-O-M-E, is hitting .308. He's got 13 homers and 30 runs batted in. And he is hitting 6th. The man behind him also has 13 homers, hitting 7th, Ramirez. And McDowell misses low, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And the man hitting 8th, Sorrento's got 12 home runs. And he doesn't even play every day.
Let's go back to that spelling bee you just put on. Thome, T-H-O-M-E, right?
Yeah.
You trying to win a spelling bee?
I can spell Thome as those words that they have in a spelling bee they can't spell. We're at Jacobs Field in Cleveland, Sunday Night Baseball. It is 4-1. The Yankees leading the hometown team. Let's look from the left field corner here. A panoramic view at this great ballpark. The people here, they love this ballpark. They're proud of this park.
Beautiful ballpark, Jim.
And it has really changed the dynamic of coming to downtown Cleveland. Strike 3 call to the inside.
Great pitch there by Jack McDowell. Everyone knows that he likes to use the splitter when he gets ahead, but he fires a fastball on the inside corner to Thome, and he can't pull the trigger. Look at the location there, the target. I mean, that hit the target exactly where Stanley placed it.
Manny Ramirez coming up now. Great young hitter. They think that this guy got so much talent that he may be a guy who could do the kind of things Albert Bell has been doing. He's still very, very young. A great article about him in the New York Times today by Ira Burko. He's from New York City, actually from the Dominican Republic, but at age 12 his family moved into the Washington Heights section of the Bronx. And he played high school at George Washington High School from where he could see the lights at Yankee Stadium. And a real quick bat, and look at his numbers. This is the 7th place hitter, and he's hitting .349, 13 homers and 35 runs batted in. And he always seems to be at his best against his hometown team, the Yankees.
Well, his backlash there got a piece of Stanley. His swing went through and he released it with his right hand. Now watch, he gets a piece of Stanley with his backswing. Good fastball up and in by McDowell. You see the backswing gets Stanley on his left arm.
2 strikes to count to Manny Ramirez. Check swing. Did he swing? Yes. First base umpire Larry Barnett rings him up, and that's the inning. Ramirez down on strikes. It is 4-1 Yankees with Mattingly coming up. There's a look from the MetLife blimp at Jacobs Field in downtown Cleveland. Sunday Night Baseball, the Yankees 4 and the Cleveland Indians 1. And with us is Dave Winfield, former Yankee, and now with this Cleveland Ball Club and on the disabled list. And how you feeling?
I feel pretty good. Hurt my arm 1 week ago. Little rotator cuff problem, but I'll be back. I'll be back pretty soon. Make some contributions.
So you may never pitch again. Well, what about hitting again?
Oh yeah, I'll hit again. I'll play again. I'll make the contributions a little later. We have a young guy, Herbert Perry, came up and did a wonderful job yesterday with 2 home runs. So we're happy to see him picking it up right away.
Now, one of your former teammates up there right now, Don Mattingly, 2-0 the count. And what about Don now? He's had a lot of physical problems this year with the eye problem and various back problems and whatnot. Now down the left field line, that one could be trouble. It is in there, a fair ball, and up into the crowd. So Mattingly will stop at second. He's 2 for 2 tonight.
Well, he can still show you he can hit. Don Mattingly can go the other way, and he can still hit the ball pretty hard to right field. But he's had some problems recently. His back, his eye, his elbow. It happens sometimes. This is the 5th time I've been on the disabled list in 20 years, but you never know.
Well, Dave, I think that's what happens as you get a little older. As you get more mature.
I knew when I came up in the booth I'd have to hear that.
And John mentioned you played for the Yankees. You also played for the Padres. I remember you from the Padres when you first came up.
Well, that's because you're so mature.
Yeah, you never played a day in the minor leagues.
When you were the Big Red Machine, you guys had quite a ball club. I think we can probably match the kind of power that you guys had in those 70s.
Well, it looks like it. Especially down at the bottom of your lineup, you have a little more power.
Actually, throughout this lineup, they're real tough, young guys. You know what's good about this team? I'll just have to tell you. I sit there a lot and I watch. This isn't a team that toots its own horn or talks a lot of stuff on the bench. They just want to rush out there each day, make a contribution, and feel good about it. They don't talk a lot of stuff. They just play.
And that is unusual for young guys.
Oh, it is.
Danny Chartable, the hitter, right out in front of the plate. Mattingly holding at second, and Pena over to first to retire Chartable, who had doubled home run his first time. And by the way, Cleveland's bullpen is also busy. Well, we're talking with Dave Winfield, and we mentioned Dave is on the disabled list, but back on Memorial Day he was not, and this is when he really fueled a Cleveland comeback, a 3-run homer. What a game that was, Dave. You done 6-0, and you guys came back and won it.
Big game against Chicago. We are getting used to coming back. No matter when we're down, we can always come back. And that was a 3-run homer. I think it made it 6-4, and we eventually overcame that big deficit.
Now you guys overcame a game. What was it? David Cohn in Toronto had you 8-0.
Oh, man. Cy Young Award winner last year. Toronto's up 8-0. We came back, beat them 9-8. Paul Sorrento, a 2-run homer to end the game.
Here's Tony Fernandez, and he takes a strike. Now, you were with that Toronto Championship Club, 92.
Right.
Got the game-winning hit.
Now, compare that club. Yeah, game-winning hit in the World Series against Atlanta. Compare that club with this Cleveland club.
Very similar. Talent up and down the order. We know that we're in the ball game every day. We know if we do what we're supposed to do, we have a very good chance of just coming out on top. The people play very well together. Chemistry, a big part of winning. And this team has very good chemistry. You have to hand it to management. These people are hand-picked, and they play very well together.
1-1 to Fernandez. Velarde on deck, and a foul ball. 1-2 straight. Now, when you talk chemistry, though, I mean, you're 34-12. A lot of teams can have good chemistry. They go 34-12.
No, but this has not only talent, but the people get along well together. We don't have a lot of cliques on this team. We have a lot of veterans that help the young guys. Young guys listen to the veterans, and you might see anybody out with one another on any given evening. If you understand what I'm saying, the guys get along well together. There's Eddie Murray.
Tell us about Eddie. I mean, he's closing in on 3,000 hits, but your numbers for the career very similar with Eddie.
Very similar. Eddie's going to get his 3,000 hits. Unfortunately, he may not get it at home. I think he's got 3 more games on this homestand. He needs 11. We have been very close on home runs and RBIs for so many years. And I'll tell you, when he was in Baltimore in the 80s, I thought he was the best clutch hitter in the game for almost a decade, left-handed or right-handed.
Have you talked to him about 3,000 hits and approaching it? Has he done anything differently than you did when you were getting close?
No, not really. He's just steady. Eddie doesn't really talk a lot about it. He doesn't like all the fanfare. He doesn't do a lot of interviews about it. I probably did a lot of interviews and talked a lot about it, but he hasn't really gotten stuck on any particular number. He just goes out and gets 1, 2, 3 hits a day. He's had some leg problems that have limited him to his first base play, but he's going to get 3,000 and quite a few more. He'll play another year or two as long as he wants.
2-2 to Fernandez here with one out in the third. The Yanks ahead 4-1. Mattingly at second. Nagy on the hill for Cleveland. And it goes to 3-2 now.
Let me ask you a question, Dave. If you were starting out today and you had a choice of getting 3,000 hits or 500 home runs, which would you choose? Which would be the more meaningful to you, I guess?
3,000 hits.
Okay.
When I came into the big leagues, I just wanted to, I didn't know what I was able to do. Let's wait for this play.
Sorrento to Nagy covering, and Fernandez is retired with Mattingly taking third base. 2 down in the inning, and Velarde coming up.
I honestly just tried to get hits, RBIs, and home runs came third in my mind.
Well, that's good. That's why I wanted to know. I asked Eddie, you know, a similar question, and Eddie says basically like you, he just wanted to hit. He just wanted to hit, drive in runs, and help his team win, and hit the ball hard every time he went to the plate. So
I had no idea. I had no idea what I was capable of doing. I was a pitcher out of college in the College World Series.
Here's Velarde, who grounded out his first time.
But, I mean, if you are able to get your 500 home runs, you're being in a unique situation. We take a look at you hitting for the Yankees, but like I said, I saw that swing in San Diego first, and it has remained very similar throughout your career.
It sure has.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
What about those years with the Yankees? I mean, when you look back at it now from a distance, I mean, it was a turbulent time.
Yeah, it was bittersweet. I mean, the guys were always great that I played with, and those are fond memories. Some of the best players in the history of this game.
That is into right field for Velarde, base hit. Mattingly will score, and now the Yankees are ahead 5-1 against Cleveland.
Let me say
it's just like
it's
every
not
game,
over. Let me just say it's not over.
You guys fall behind every game so you can make a dramatic comeback. Is that it?
I don't know. We don't try to do that, but everybody's up for us. I mean, they come in here. Cleveland is no longer a secret. The secret's out. They know this is a good ball club. Look at the fans. They come out every day. It's sold out. One of the few parks in baseball. This is the place to play some baseball. So they come in ready, and we got to put on our game face. Looks like we're going to have to make another comeback tonight.
Here's Bernie Williams now. Jacobs Field. I mean, what a ballpark this is.
It's a beautiful facility. I think you both know that historically, I mean, the old ballpark was perhaps the worst. I mean, it was the oldest facility, 80,000, maybe you get 10,000 a night. It's 40, 42,000. It's almost sold out every night, and it is just a beautiful, scenic place.
Now, heading for second, Velarde.
Wow.
And he got him. Pena was able to throw him out. Dave Winfield, good luck to you. When are you going to be back?
A couple of weeks. I'll just anticipate a couple of weeks. I'll keep working hard. I work harder on the disabled list than I do on the field, so sooner the better.
Thanks, Dave. Back in Cleveland as Paul Sorrento leads it off against Jack McDowell, taking strike one. Sorrento, the 8th place hitter, hitting .270, but with 12 homers and 34 batted in, and he's not even an everyday player. As a lefty that starts, almost invariably he sits. That's strike 2 with a fastball. So he's had 12 homers in 111 at bats. He's averaging 1 homer every 9.3 at bats.
I tell you something, though, John. The Indians are famous for their comebacks this year, but Jack McDowell is getting better as this game progresses. He struggled a little bit at the beginning, but he's throwing the ball very well now. And you don't beat up on Jack McDowell when he's right.
Randy Velarde throws out Sorrento, 1 away in the 3rd inning. 5-1, Yanks ahead. The MetLife blimp, co-piloted by Snoopy, dressed as the famous World War I flying ace tonight. Rather than searching the skies for the Red Baron, Snoopy is enjoying the baseball game here at Jacobs Field in Cleveland. And we're enjoying the shots that they're giving us of this beautiful ballpark, just a jewel. And I tell you, Cleveland, after a Cleveland victory downtown, it's like New Year's Eve. I was here earlier this week when Baltimore was in town for 3. Cleveland swept that series, and after each of those 3 games, The streets were filled with people and cars, and they were all beeping their horns. It sounded like they had just won a war or something. I mean, every night it's a big celebration downtown after a Cleveland win. Pena didn't like that call. Neither did the crowd. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a shot of the Flats area here in Cleveland, a famous area that now is a place to go for dinner and entertainment, nightclubs down there, restaurants. And that misses high for a ball. And Yacht Harbor down there. And the downtown area now filled with people almost nightly, it seems, when it used to be just a kind of a quiet and lonely place. Nice pickup by Boggs. Can he get it? Yes. Wow. Well, that's why Boggs won a Gold Glove last year. Beautiful play.
This is a tough play, a lot more difficult than it appears, because he had to play the hop as well as get over and cover the ball. See, the ball's hit down the line. He has to make a couple of steps. Now, here's the big hop. That in-between hop is the toughest hop to play. He gets up and then throws a strike to first base. Wade Boggs has worked very, very hard on his defense and has started to show off the last 3 or 4 years.
2 down, nobody on, and here is leadoff man Kenny Lofton. He has scored Cleveland's only run. He was able to get a dribbler for a base hit. Stole second, scored on Vizquel's single. 5-1, the Yanks ahead. And that's a foul tip in and out of the glove of Stanley. 0-1 the count. Well, our thanks to Dave Winfield. And we wish Dave a happy Father's Day. Dave's got 3 kids. And happy Father's Day to all of you dads out there looking in tonight. We're glad to have you with us. One ball, 1 strike to Kenny Lofton. He's now hitting .340. And that'll go up. Another base hit. What a week he's had. Kenny Lofton. Red hot.
Well, Jack McDowell had been keeping the ball down for the last 7 hitters. And he gets this pitch up, and Lofton lines it into right field for a base hit. See, this pitch is up, and Kenny gets a line drive to right field. He's been keeping the ball down. In fact, he had like 5 ground balls out of the last, well, 4 ground balls out of the last 6 hitters and 2 strikeouts. So no one had hit the ball out of the infield.
So Vizquel comes up. 3 hits now for Cleveland. 2 by Lofton, 1 by Vizquel. Boggs shallow at third. A strike. 88-mile-an-hour fastball there. And our Jugs guy, by the way, Winfield, his 3 children, Lauren and his twins, David and Ariel.
Weren't they the Minnesota Twins? They were born when he was in Minnesota. So they were Minnesota Twins.
Talked about some of the young talent on this Cleveland club, but they've got a lot of veteran talent too. It is a nice mix, as Winfield mentioned. Guys like Eddie Murray and Winfield, but also in that pitching rotation, like Oral Hershiser and Dennis Martinez, Buddy Black. Martinez and Hershiser in particular have pitched extremely well. Martinez will go tomorrow night against the Red Sox, and he is unbeaten this year. There's the forkball, a check swing. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I guess the question is, what do you do if you're Lofton at first base and you take a look at Hershiser? Do you steal a base in this situation, even though your percentage hasn't been as good as you would like? Or do you stay at first base and let Vizquel hit?
What do you think?
Well, I think he should be running if he can get a good jump, because you have Vizquel, who is not going to hit the ball out of the ballpark that often.
I mean, he has very little chance of scoring with Vizquel up there unless he gets to second base.
But of course, if you're hitting with Baerga and Bell and the rest of the sluggers, then you might want to stay there since you're down by 4 runs. But it's still early in the ball game, and I think you should still take the chances and do not get away from your game plan in the early innings of the ball game, even though you're down by 4 runs.
Well, McDowell seems concerned about him. There goes Lofton. That is a base hit. Just over the glove of Velarde. First and third, and now Baerga comes up. with a chance to do some damage.
I've often said this, that a base stealer does not have to steal a base to help his ball club. Just his presence as first base was taking some of Jack McDowell's concentration. As you see, Lofton was getting ready to go head first, and then he realizes the base hit the right field, so he trots on around to third. And this accomplishes something else, too. You now have a hole on the right side when you have runners at first and third. Mattingly has to hold Vizquel at first. Here's Baerga, a big hole to shoot at on the right side.
Carlos Baerga now with 2 men on and 2 men out. All of Cleveland's hits have been from Lofton and Vizquel, each with 2. Nobody else has a hit for them. There's the double fake.
That was a pretty big fake right there.
I saw him pick somebody off with that move back in May at Yankee Stadium. He picked off Kevin Bass, of all people, at first base. One of 3 pickoffs he's had. You don't often see anybody get picked up on that move. Into left center. Bernie Williams can't get it. Lofton scores. To third is Vizquel on the Baerga single. It's 5-2 now, and Albert Bell is coming up.
And this is the Cleveland Indians offensive attack. A lot of good hitters. They hit line drives. It started, remember, after 2 were out. They've had 3 straight singles off Jack McDowell, and now they get into the power part of the lineup with Albert Bell coming up.
32nd RBI of the year for Baerga. And here is Albert Bell tonight playing in his 72nd game in this ballpark. But he has hit 26 home runs here. And he has a .381 lifetime average in this ballpark.
The one thing about Bell, now watch how quiet he is at the plate. Not a lot of movement once he gets set.
High in the air. Deep right center. O'Neill is back. He's under it. And he makes the catch. Just a few feet shy of the wall. And Cleveland has gone down in the third. 3 hits, 1 run. Yanks 5, Indians 2. We head to the 4th. Long way from being over. And Sunday Night Baseball from Cleveland. 5-2 the Yankees after 3 innings. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, and there's the new Cleveland pitcher, Jason Grimsley, on in relief of Charles Nagy. Nagy just had no success tonight. He issued 4 walks, a season's high, in only 3 innings. So here's Grimsley now to Bernie Williams, a called strike on the inside.
Well, Grimsley, like a lot of pitchers with the shortened spring training, he's had control problems. He has walked a lot of hitters in the short period of time that he's pitched this year. He has given up 25 bases on balls in 23 2/3 innings. That's more than 1 an inning. You're not going to win many ball games like that. That's why his earned run average is up 7.23.
Also, he allowed 4 home runs in only 23 2/3 innings. 2-1 on the count to Bernie Williams. Grimsley, been around a long time. Always had an excellent arm, and general managers are always intrigued with him. That's a foul, and in fact, John Hart, the outstanding general manager of the Cleveland Indians, the architect of this Cleveland ball club, thought about sending Grimsley out when they brought up Greg Olson today, but Grimsley's out of options, and he was afraid of losing him. He just said, hey, we got a great arm right here, and maybe he'll turn it around. There was a time last year where he pitched real well as a starter for Cleveland last summer before the strike. 3-2. They brought Greg Olson up today from Buffalo, one-time closer of the Orioles. He'd been closing at Buffalo, and says his arm feels great. He had great success there. Bernie Williams walked his first time. Dropped it. When apparently knuckling, Manny reached down to try and make a basket catch and didn't.
Well, that's why you teach outfielders to catch the ball with 2 hands and above the waist. He charged it, and then he tried to make a basket catch, and that is very difficult to do on a ball that's hit like a line drive right in front of you. He was there, he just missed it. You see Manny is there. It hits him on the hand. Actually doesn't hit the glove. So he's charged with an error. There he goes.
There goes Bernie Williams. Right there is Vizquel, and he bobbles it. No out there. And just in time to get Polonia at first. He had a chance to get the double play because he was breaking over the cover. But the ball kicked up off the heel of his glove. And then he had all to get handled just to try and get Polonia at first base.
Well, you see Vizquel was going over to cover, so he had to try to backhand the ball. It was hit behind him. It just shows how good an infielder he really is, his hand-eye coordination, how quick he is for him to be able to grab that ball in the air and still make a good throw to first base in time to retire Polonia.
Now Wade Boggs, 0 for 2 in the game, left-handed hitter, and he takes a strike. 0-1, 5-2. The Yanks ahead. And we're in the 4th inning. Charles Nagy went only 3 innings, allowing 5 runs and 5 hits. His shortest outing as a starter since the last game of the '93 season, which was the last baseball game played at the old Municipal Stadium down on the lakefront. Nagy with 4 walks. That's the highest walk total for him this year, and it came in only 3 innings. So he just had one of those bad nights that happen every once in a while. 2-1 to Boggs with Paul O'Neill on deck.
It's interesting you talk about Greg Olson. You know, the Indians had to make a decision on him because he had a deal in his contract where if some other major league team wanted him, either the Indians had to call him up or he was allowed to go to play for someone else. And the Boston Red Sox had expressed interest in him.
I believe Cleveland, once a major league team expressed interest in him, the Indians had 48 hours to decide whether to just let him go or bring him up to the big leagues. That's when it is down the left field line, but foul and out of play. 3-2 to Boggs. As Olson said before the game to me, he said, hey, I couldn't lose in the deal.
Well, he could lose if he didn't pitch well in the minor leagues, but he did pitch well down there.
He was going to stay there until he pitched well.
Yeah.
But he said once somebody offered him a job, he was going to be in the big leagues, whether it was here or somewhere else. Left center, Bell going back. And that is out number 2. Holding at second, Bernie Williams. Paul O'Neill coming up now. O'Neill, last year's batting champion, and he showed some fine form in his at bat in the 2nd inning against Nagy.
Takes a low fastball from Nagy and lines it over the right field wall. Good low ball hitter is Paul O'Neill. Doesn't handle a high fastball very well, but he can really hit the low fastball.
O'Neill now with 7 home runs, even though that's not a very high figure, and he has spent time with the disabled list. He is tied for the club lead in home runs, which has been one of the Yankees' problems as he takes ball 1 from Grimsley. The Yankees, who hit so many homers last year and scored so many runs, they just lacked power this year. And that slider is in there for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. So it'll be interesting to see, Joe, what will happen. These guys are going to stay healthy and be back in the lineup. Not Mattingly, O'Neill, Stanley. Chartable can get going if they don't trade him. They'll actually start scoring a lot more runs. That's it for O'Neill. 1 man stranded. Eddie Murray will be coming up when we get back. Eddie Murray, 11 hits away from 3,000. 19 hitters in the history of Major League Baseball have ever reached 3,000 hits. Murray soon to become the 20th. A high fly ball, shallow left. Hernandez out, Polonia in, and Polonia for out number 1. And Murray is quickly retired. He's 0 for 2.
Only 14 hitters have had 500 home runs, and one of them, Mickey Mantle, they were all 2 of the all-time great switch hitters. They're very similar in a couple of areas. Look how they tuck their shoulders in. Now watch when they stride. They're very similar there too from the left side. Look at Mantle. He does not push his hands away very far, but a lot of power in that swing, and he drives the ball out of the ballpark. Eddie Murray, very similar. Strides are very similar. Do not push their hands away very far, but they really attack the ball through the hitting zone. And you see 2 of the all-time great power hitting switch hitters. And there, take a look at Eddie. I mean, that's a lot of power generated by both Mantle and Murray, and they have power from both sides. In fact, Mickey Mantle may have been more powerful from the right side.
Mantle hit 536 home runs all told in his career.
And Eddie broke his record recently of hitting his 11th 11th time hitting a home run from both sides in the same game.
Thome over to second base, and Velarde throws him out. So Jim Thome has been held in check by Jack McDowell. In fact, from Bell on down, he has held these big Cleveland sluggers in check. There's downtown Cleveland in the center of the picture. A longtime famous landmark here, the Terminal Tower. They have turned that old train station beneath the tower into a beautiful shopping area called Tower City. Great stores, a Ritz-Carlton hotel, a lot of movie theaters down there. And you see the downtown Cleveland skyline from the ballpark. It's part of the landscape here. And there is ball one to Manny Ramirez. Well, Eddie Murray also broke Mantle's record for RBIs by a switch hitter. Eddie has been very dependable year after year. In fact, in years where there weren't any strikes, where he's had a full season, Murray's worst RBI total ever, 84. And that was the one year that he spent time on the disabled list in 1986.
The interesting thing for me, John, is we talked about the 14 players that have hit 500 home runs, but only 2 of those players have also amassed 3,000 hits. Hank Aaron had over 3,700, and Willie Mays over 3,200, and Eddie Murray could be the 3rd.
And if it hadn't been for the 2 long strikes, I mean, Murray might be much closer to 500 home runs right now.
So look at that. I mean, that's an astonishing statistic as far as I'm concerned. Usually the guys that get 3,000 hits do not come close to 500 home runs. There is an exception. Frank Robinson, I believe, was like 5 or 6 hits, or he was very close to 3,000. He had over 500 home runs.
O'Neill in right field. And Jack McDowell retires the Cleveland Indians in order here in the 4th. McDowell and the Yankees ahead 5-2. Stanley, Mattingly, and Chartable coming up. Top of the 5th coming up. Yanks ahead 5-2. Be sure and join ESPN Tuesday night beginning at 7:30 Eastern with the Quest for the Cup Stanley Cup Finals preview show. Then at 8, it's Game 2 of the Finals. The Devils took a 1-0 lead with a 2-1 victory over the Red Wings last night in Detroit. The Devils and Red Wings. Game 2 Tuesday at 8 Eastern. Immediately following the Quest for the Cup preview show.
The Devils. How about those Devils?
The Devils. Here's Mike Stanley, the Yankees cleanup hitter, facing Jason Grimsley. Ball 2. Stanley has walked and scored a run, and he has flied out to right center. Yanks got 2 in the first. Mattingly and Chartable each driving in runs. 2 in the second on the O'Neill 2-run homer. 1 in the third on the Velarde single. Cleveland with 1 in the first and 1 in the third. Stanley down the right field line. Could be trouble if it stays fair. And it is a fair ball. He's heading for second. And he'll pull in there with a double.
This is a good hitting here by Stanley going down the right field line. See, that ball is down and away. He doesn't try to pull it. Just hits it down the right field line, and he ends up at second base with a double.
Stanley with his 8th double of the year. So the Yankees ready to get more now with Mattingly coming up. Now Mattingly, first pitch he saw from Charles Nagy, lined a single to drive in a run. Then in the third, he hit a double. He tucked in right along the left field line. Mattingly has lifted his average to 275. Now he shows bunt.
Well, I think he just wants Thome to come in at third base, and he gets him to come in. Thome was playing back very deep at third base, and Mattingly faked the bunt. Now he comes up close to the baseline.
This is the 5th inning. And in every inning, the Yankees leadoff batter has reached base, which is always a pretty good way to start rallies. Don Mattingly, never been in any kind of a postseason game. When that runner Stanley over to third, he pulled that ball, but he pulled it foul. And now Grimsley is ahead of Mattingly at 0-2.
That's unusual, John, because anyone that's been a Yankee his entire career, you expect him to have played in at least postseason play, if not the World Series.
This is one of the longest droughts in Yankees history without being in the World Series. Let's hit slowly. Vizquel covers just in time. And Stanley ended up holding it second. even though the ball was hit very softly.
Well, not a good out there by Mattingly, although with 2 strikes, you just have to put the ball in play. You need Mattingly to pull the ball to the right side, but with 2 strikes, he has to just make contact. And you're right, Vizquel charges and has time to throw Mattingly out. But Stanley just holds at second base, but Stanley being a catcher, he doesn't want to take too many chances on the bases.
If he breaks immediately, I don't think Vizquel with a lead.
Right.
We're trailing in this
Well,
spot. He wants to get the sure out. Right?
Yeah, in any case, if he breaks right away, he has to go to first base because he can't wait that long to make up his mind. But that's a tough decision to make for a catcher, to be perfectly honest with you.
Danny Chartable has doubled home a run and has dribbled one out in front of the plate. And Pena still looking very spry back behind, moving very well. He didn't just reach out, try to backhand that. He's had that springing move over to get in front of that ball as best he could.
Well, I've been very impressed with Pena tonight. Not only is handling the pitchers, but his throwing. He's doing everything well. He's blocking the balls at the plate. He looks, he looks like he's bounced back from a couple of seasons where he did not play as well as he had hoped.
One of those veteran players in this Cleveland ball club who not just play the game, but their clubhouse presence, working with guys like the young Manny Ramirez. His locker is right next to Ramirez. Now Stanley will break for third. Vizquel gets Tartable. Number 2 now. Had Stanley already been at third, that would have been a run.
Well, and probably would have been a base hit for Tartable because I'm sure the Indians would have played in. They could not afford to play back and allow the Yankees to score on an infield out, and that ball probably would have gone through. But again, it's very difficult for a catcher to make those types of decisions because he's not expected to be a speedster on the bases.
2 down, runner at third. The Yanks ahead 5-2 in the 5th inning. Grimsley for the windup to Tony Fernandez. Curveball for a strike. It is 0-1. Fernandez, great shortstop from San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic, which is sort of the cradle of shortstops in the majors. He swung on a bad one there, up around his shoulders. 0-2 the count. Jason Grimsley, his job is keep the club in the game and give them a chance to come back.
Well, 3 runs down is really not a big factor for these Cleveland Indians, except the fact that Jack McDowell is a good pitcher and he can shut them out the rest of the way, or shut them down at least.
So many times in baseball today, there's such a shortage of quality pitchers in teams' bullpens. When a starter gets knocked out early, it's 5-2. Sometime by the 5th, 6th inning, it's 10-2, and that's what Grimsley has got to keep from happening. Right side, it's through, base hit. Tony Fernandez gets the clutch 2-out hit. Takes the big turn at first, and he'll go back as Stanley comes in to score. So after all of that, he does score anyway, and it is 6-2 for the Yankees.
Well, see, Stanley says I ran the bases exactly the right way. That's a slider he throws to Fernandez, and he pulls it in the hole between Baerga and Sorrento. And the Yankees now lead 6-2.
7 hits for the Yanks now. Here's Randy Velarde. He has driven in a run with a single and has also grounded out 1 for 2. Ball 1 outside. Now, last year this Yankee club scored so many runs. They get great performances from people like Wade Boggs and Paul O'Neill, but also from some of their role players, guys like Jim Leyritz and guys off the bench like Velarde. There goes Fernandez. The ball is looped into center. It's in front of Lofton. Base hit. He's going to throw through to third. Tommy ended up dropping the ball anyway, but he was in there, and Velarde held on at first base.
See, John, that's what I like from the Yankees, and I think they need to do more of that. You've got some guys that can handle the batter. When you look at Velarde, Fernandez, Mattingly, Boggs, all these people can handle a bat. Put someone in motion. That opens up holes for the other hitters. You're just not going to be a power-hitting ball club anymore, at least at this stage. Maybe later in the season, if you're hitting the ball out of the ballpark, you do not take these chances. But I think they need to do more of this. And it shows that, you know, you can get runs at first and third and keep the holes open on the infield.
Now, here is Bernie Williams. And he takes the ball outside. Now, one other problem they've had, of course, is their pitching. In the absence of Jimmy Key and Scott Kamenicki, two of their top 5 starting pitchers.
Correct.
The pitching has been terrible. I mean, they've been way behind in a lot of games this year. And that can hurt your running game a little bit. Check swing foul. I mean, I agree with you 100%, but I think they've had a multiplicity of problems.
Can you spell that?
T-H-O-M-E. Tommy. And the breaking ball from Grimsley misses ball 2. Nice save there by Pena. 2-1 the count. Yanks ahead 6-2 in the 5th inning. And here at Jacobs Field, the crowd very quiet, which is very unusual for this place this year. I mean, Cleveland, and they love to play here. Their record in this ballpark, 19-5. This place has been rocking. So it is now 3-1 to Bernie Williams, who has walked and been safe on the Manny Ramirez error. Run is in. The Yanks ahead 6-2.
And I like this. Bernie Williams stepped out to look down at third base. He wanted to see if they have the runner going. He is not.
But that's the spot you're talking about. Why not start him from first on 3-1? That's Fernandez at third and Velarde at first. Velarde will be running on this one. 3-2 the count with 2 down. Sorrento off the bag now, playing behind him. And now Williams backs away from the plate. Velarde runs, and that's through the middle, base hit. Fernandez comes in to score, and Velarde takes third. And the Yankees lead 7-2 over Cleveland. For the Yankees, it's just like 1994 all over again.
Yeah, John, they're doing it with a lot of singles. Not so much with hitting the ball out of the ballpark or even doubles, but a lot of singles. That pitch is right in the middle of the plate. And Bernie Williams does a good job and just cranks it right back through the middle. And Velarde hustles around to third base. Runners at first and third now with 2 down.
And the Cleveland bullpen gets busy with left-hander Jim Poole, as Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, is going to the mound to visit with Jason Grimsley. You got 3 straight left-handed hitters coming up here: Polonia, Boggs, and O'Neill. We want to remind you now that voting for the Major League Baseball All-Star team can now be done either at the ballpark or via your computer. The official Baseball All-Star ballot is online on ESPN Net Sports Zone. The internet address is on your screen right now. You can also get ESPN Net on Prodigy. Would you buy me a computer and then teach me how to use it?
That's what I was going to say. I wouldn't know how to. I couldn't help you after I gave it to you.
Bring it to me next week, will you? Here's Polonia. First ball swinging in the air to left center. Albert Bell takes it. Polonia 0 for 3 now with a walk. The Yanks get 2. Halfway through it, Yanks lead it 7-2. Baseball from Cleveland, and the Cleveland Indians down 7-2, the best record in the majors, but they're getting clobbered so far tonight. A long way to go yet. We'll see. Happy Father's Day, everyone. Happy Father's Day to you, Joe, as Paul Sorrento stands in. And you got a nice Father's Day surprise.
Well, I got a big Father's Day surprise, John. My oldest daughter, Lisa, flew in and surprised me. I didn't know she was coming, and she's here in the booth with us.
Yes. One strike delivery. Missing for a ball.
And here's my daughter, Lisa, and as Dave Winfield say, you know she got her looks from the other side. But that's my daughter, Lisa, and it was a pleasant surprise for a Father's Day.
Well, and for coming by, Joe, I presented her with an Albert Bell bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They give us a whole box of Albert Bell bars. Albert's got his own candy bar now.
Yeah.
He must be getting big here. Sorrento punches one to left. Plenty of room for Polonia. The warning track. Sorrento is retired. Here's the Albert Bell bar.
I tried it today, John. It's pretty good. In fact, it hits pretty hard.
What are you doing, commercials for it? You've come up with a slogan for him?
Well, the only good, it's chocolate. I don't eat much candy, but that's chocolate. I enjoy chocolate.
I remember 3 or 4 years ago, Ken Griffey Jr. out in Seattle, they came up with a candy bar for him, a chocolate bar. And they called it, the Ken Griffey Jr. bar, whatever it was. Tony Pena played. Came out, I mean, Griffey himself could never eat it because he was allergic to chocolate. Strike one to Tony Pena. Albert Bell himself actually missed the press conference when they introduced the candy bar. But Albert, I mean, he got a lot of ridicule for it, but said there was kind of some confusion. But Albert says he never does anything before noon because he gets his rest to be ready to play ball. That's number one. He's not out doing banquets and commercial endorsements on game days before he gets his rest. Now, a lot of people thought that was bad, but I'm sure Mike Hargrove thought, well, hey, do whatever he wants, but get your rest and be ready to play ball here. 1 ball, 1 strike to Pena.
And John, you bring up John Hart. I think we should mention what a great job that the Cleveland front office has done. Keeping all these young players together. They signed, Baerga, Lofton, and a lot of these young players to multi-year contracts. Albert Bell, while they were still young, and they're here. They're going to be here in the Cleveland uniform for quite a while.
Down the left field line, but fouled by Pena.
Just real, smart move there by the, Cleveland front office.
Well, they took all of their top young players, signed them to long-term contracts so that they didn't ever have to go through the arbitration process with any other. Plus, having done that, year to year, they always know what their budget is going to be because they know well ahead of time what the big players are going to make. That one is a fair ball. Pena heading for second. Polonia's throw is too late. A stand-up double for Tony Pena as he plays some wall ball here in Cleveland.
Well, that reminded Tony a little bit of playing in Boston and hitting the Green Monster out there in Fenway Park. It appeared that the ball was about to hook foul, and then all of a sudden a fan reaches out. The ball was definitely going to be fair. We'll take a look at it here as third base umpire Dan Morrison goes out and makes the call. The fan tries to catch it, but not quite long. Arm's not quite long enough. Hits one of the seams in the padding there.
And he's lucky that he didn't catch it, because if he even touched it, he'd be out of here.
Yeah, he'd be out of here. He'd lose that seat.
Don't touch a ball in play. Ever. Now Kenny Lofton, 2 for 2. Cleveland is down 7-2, so Jack McDowell, former Cy Young winner just a couple of years ago. Yeah, you keep your hands away from a ball in play. So he's talking about it right now. You mean that ball was fair? Strike caught on the inside, and Lofton can't believe it. He's angry at Al Clark over that call.
But what is happening here is that Jack McDowell is throwing the sinker away to the left-handers, then he's busting the fastball back inside. Lofton was looking for the ball away, and he threw a pitch inside.
And will be a foul out of play. So now McDowell is ahead of the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Kenny Lofton. Lofton is hitting .344. You see, Lofton 2 hits, Vizquel 2 hits, Baerga 1. And those first 3 hitters in the lineup had all the hits until Pena's double here.
Good pitch.
Right to Velarde at second. Pena will take third as Lofton is thrown out for the first time in this game.
Well, what you're trying to do if you're Jack McDowell is just get some outs. And he threw the pitch away the pitch before. He fouled it off down the left field line. Now he comes back inside. And it may be off the plate, but Lofton can't take it because he's already taken a strike inside, so he hits a ground ball to second base. And if you're Jack McDowell, that's what you want Kenny Lofton to do every time he comes to the plate, hit a ground ball to second base.
Omar Vizquel has singled home a run. In fact, he is twice singled with 1 RBI. His average is moving up. Ball 1. 7-2. Yanks runner at third here in the 5th inning. Vizquel would like to get that man home. Vizquel, 18 hits in his last 13 games. So he's starting to get hot now. But he's not in there for his bat. Although hitting number 2, they expect a few things out of him.
Well, but they can do a lot of things with him because he can bunt and we've seen him drive in runs. You mentioned he has 23 runs batted in, so he can do what is necessary to hit in the number 2 spot, and that's to move the runners along.
Nice save by Stanley. That saved a run, at least for the moment. So the count is 2 balls and 1 strike to Omar Vizquel. Now, if he could get the hit here, he knocks in a run, but also keeps the inning going for Carlos Baerga, who's on deck. Even if he just can get a walk here, Baerga would come up, and that's what they'd like to see happen. Right to Velarde. And that ends the inning. So Jack McDowell has things well in hand. The Yanks lead at 7-2. Boggs, O'Neill, and Stanley will be coming up. John Miller and Joe Morgan from Cleveland. Yeah, happy Father's Day. My dad and the Tribe and ESPN are number 1. That young fellow celebrating Father's Day with his dad here at the ballpark in Cleveland. Happy Father's Day. Next Sunday, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball will travel to Southern California for the renewal of those ancient hostilities. The Giants and the Dodgers. Barry Bonds, the Giants. Raul Mondesi, Mike Piazza, and the Dodgers. The Dodgers won again today. They took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. The Giants won again today. And we'll see the Giants and Dodgers. Although tonight we're seeing Oral Hershiser here in the Cleveland dugout. Seems kind of odd. Wade Boggs, base hit, left field. And Boggs gets his first hit of the night. He's now 1 for 4. Hit number 10 for New York.
For Wade Boggs, anytime you get the pitch up, he usually takes it to left field. See, this pitch is up, and you see how level that swing is? Just a nice, level, compact swing, and he lines it to left field for a base hit. That's why he has that lifetime average of over 335.
Paul O'Neill is hit into a force play, hit a 2-run homer, and grounded out. He takes ball 1 from Jason Grimsley. O'Neill hitting .318. And that breaking ball is too low. 2-0. 7 runs, 10 hits for the Yankees. 2 runs, 6 hits, and 1 error for Cleveland. Now, Cleveland right here on ESPN on Memorial Day. Remember that game? Joe and I watched that while we were in Philadelphia waiting for a ball game on Memorial Day evening. First half of that holiday doubleheader was here, and Cleveland came from a 6-0 deficit against Wilson Alvarez and the White Sox to win a ball game. 7-6. And more recently, that's ball 4 to O'Neill. They came from an 8-0 deficit against David Cone and the Blue Jays and won a ball game. Hit a couple of home runs in the 9th inning. Tomey's 2-run shot won that game. So this is far from over. However, they've got to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand here in the middle innings. I mean, there's coming from behind 7-2, and then there's 12-2. That's a little different story. Mark Wiley out, the pitching coach, to speak to Grimsley. 2 men on, nobody out, and the big guns coming up here.
Well, you can tell, John, the fans are getting a little restless here. They're starting to boo a little bit because they realize, too, that you cannot fall this far behind Jack McDowell and expect to come back. So they can't afford to give up any more runs.
41,667 is the paid crowd tonight here in Cleveland. Here's the view from the MetLife blimp.
Snoopy.
Captained by Snoopy. MetLife blimp cruising the skies above Cleveland. Powered by twin engines that are capable of reaching speeds greater than 57 miles per hour. Snoopy, too, can navigate at altitudes in excess of 6,000 feet. I was asking if I could just do a little skydiving or maybe some bungee jumping from there earlier today, inspired by the extreme games. And they thought I was kidding. Strike 1 to Mike Stanley. He has walked, flied out, and hit a double. Scored 2 runs. Mattingly on deck. Bullpen activity for Cleveland again. Stanley takes a ball. Stanley hitting .292. This guy has really blossomed with the Yanks. There's Jim Poole, a left-hander, up in the bullpen. And the left-handed batter Mattingly is on deck. That one is a foul off to the left. Stanley hit .300 last year for the Yanks and .305 the year before with 26 homers in the full season. And he's become quite a hitter, and he's always been a pretty good receiver. He played in college against guys like Rafael Palmeiro, Will Clark, Dave Magadan, Bobby Thigpen. This is Thome at third. The second one by Edgar back to first. Double play. Boggs takes third.
Well, that's what the Indians needed. 5-4-3 double play. And watching them, they've been able to make the double plays pretty well over the course of the season. But again, as I said, defensively, they're next to last in the American League. Only the Chicago White Sox had made more errors. But they have been able to make the double plays when they get the opportunity.
Now here's Mattingly. He singled home run with 2 down in the first. He doubled and scored in the third and grounded a short in the fifth. And he takes ball one. All of the Yankee runs, all 7 of them, have scored after 2 men were down. 2 in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fifth. Off the outside now. They could well be pitching around Mattingly with the right-handed batting Chartable on deck, although Chartable has hit more than a few right-handers awfully well over the years. And well, now they're going to walk him intentionally. He's going to go ahead and do it now that it is going to 2-0.
In a 1-1 ball game or 2-1 ball game, this may be a good move. But what you risk here, of course, is a guy like Chartable being able to hit the ball out of the ballpark. I know he has not been swinging the bat well, but this is a good hitter's ballpark. And if he hits the ball out of the ballpark, this game is over.
Even against the great Cleveland lineup.
Yeah, you get it down. If they get down 10-2 against Jack McDowell, they're not going to come back. And also, I might add that, you know, the Yankees have started to pitch better out of the bullpen.
Here is Chartable. He has doubled home a run and has grounded out twice, 1 for 3. Way inside from Grimsley. Ball 1. Starting pitcher Nagy went only 3 innings, allowing 5 runs. And he was very wild. He walked 4. Grimsley has walked 2 in this inning. Boggs at third. Mattingly at first.
Good pitch.
Pulled him with a breaking ball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, anytime you come inside and the guy just barely gets out of the way with a fastball and you come back with a breaking ball, it's very difficult for that hitter to handle that pitch, and that ball tumbles down pretty well. Another one.
Strike 2, same result. 1 and 2 to Chartable.
Sometimes when I watch Chartable hit, I'm just not sure that he reads the spin on the ball sometimes.
Well, he's not reading much of anything on any ball this year. He's hitting only .230 with only 3 home runs. Hard grounder. Thome's got it. Can he get it? The throw. He did. What a play by Thome. Wow. Well, that saves a run, at least the 1 run. Keeps Fernandez from batting. With Baerga, Bell, and Murray coming up.
This ball is ripped, and he makes a dive. Just a great stop there. Now he gets up, and he fires to first base. Chartable, not the fleetest of runners.
Is Carlos Baerga taking a fastball for a strike from Jack McDowell. McDowell and the Yankees ahead 7-2. The big guns coming up for Cleveland. Baerga, Bell, and Murray, the numbers 3, 4, and 5 hitters. Baerga is flied out deep to left center, and he has singled home a run. He's hitting .325. Inside with that fastball. Baerga has done something twice that no other American League second baseman in history has ever done, which is to hit .300 with 200 hits, 20 homers, and that is 1 away. Mattingly with the put out. A lot of ground ball outs to Velarde by Cleveland's left-handed hitters.
Well, and that's exactly what you want if you're McDowell. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, he had been hanging a lot of fork balls, which was getting him in trouble. But he's also had the sinker work in the last few ball games, and that's what's working for him tonight.
Jack McDowell. And of course, the Yankees looked at McDowell to compliment the left-handed Jimmy Key to give them a great 1-2 punch. The last 2 Cy Young, or Key didn't win the Cy Young, I guess, last year, Cone, but Key was right there with him.
Well, they were interchangeable. Either one of them could have won,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah. And now Key is injured and may not pitch again this year. Albert Bell takes a strike. Bell has hit a double play ball, and he is flied out deep to right center. He came within a few feet of a 3-run homer back in the third. The infield really pulled around toward the third base side against Bell. The outfield, though, straight away. He has good power to all fields. In the right field, a little looping liner for a base hit. So Bell is aboard. His first hit of the game, and now Eddie Murray will try it again.
He just shows how strong he is, John, by muscling that ball off his fist into right field for a base hit. And watch this pitch is inside. He just muscles it to right field. Look at that. That's just pure strength. A lot of other hitters, that would have been just a soft pop-up to the infield.
Murray 11 hits away from 3,000. When he gets 3,000, with Winfield also on the roster, Cleveland will become only the second team in history to have two 3,000 hit members at the same time. And they've had 3,000 hits. Ball one to Eddie Murray. We're in the last of the sixth inning. Here in the sixth, Baerga is grounded out to second. Bell has singled to right. Now Murray with a count of 1 ball and no strikes. And it's called a strike to the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike down to Murray.
That's what you want to do if you're Jack McDowell. Sinker away and try to keep it down. And if Eddie tries to pull it, then you'll get the ground ball for your double play that you're looking for.
7-2, the Yanks ahead. Jack McDowell on the hill for New York. The only other team ever to have more than one 3,000 hit man on the roster at the same time, the 1928 Philadelphia A's. They had 3 of them, including Eddie Collins, Ty Cobb, and Tris Speaker. And that's low to Murray. Ball 2. The last time that Cleveland had a player to get his 3,000 hit while in uniform with Cleveland was 1925, 70 years ago. Tris Speaker did it then. Pop fly. Ernie Williams over in left center. And Murray is now 0 for 3.
Well, Jack McDowell is doing a great job, John, in keeping these big sluggers off balance. He threw Murray like 3 pitches down and away, and then he came in and he jammed Murray. We saw him jam Bell. Bell got a base hit, but he made the pitch that he wanted, and he gets a jam job from Murray here. And he has the 1 out. See that pitch in, and Eddie just cannot get the hands out in time to pull the ball.
Now the powerful Jim Thome. 0 for 2 tonight. McDowell's really had great success with these left-handed batting Cleveland sluggers. Thome is struck out and grounded out. Sorrento is grounded out and flied out. Murray is grounded out, twice as flied out. And that's a ball outside. Baerga 1 for 3. Of course, Baerga not quite the slugger as the others.
Well, he's not as free a swinger as they are. But you start to see a pattern from McDowell. Pitches down and away to these left-handed hitters. Away. That means he's getting his control. He feels confident. Out there.
And the end of right field, going back toward the corner is O'Neill. That ball really carrying. And that one is into the bullpen. A 2-run homer.
Well, we mentioned this is a good hitter's ballpark, but that would have been a home run in Yankee Stadium as well. McDowell went away, and then he tried to jam Thome, and he doesn't get it in quite enough. See that ball move back out over the plate. The one he threw to Eddie Murray stayed inside, and he jammed him. This one moved back out over the plate. Thome got just enough of it to hit it over the wall. You see McDowell, he doesn't think he made as bad a pitch as it turned out.
Now Ramirez, and that is ball 1. 7-4. All of a sudden, the Yankee lead is not nearly so commanding. 14th home run of the year for Jim Thome. He now has 32 runs batted in. Alvaro Espinosa down there with him. And that's a called strike. Nice pitch. 1-1. Manny Ramirez is struck out and flied to right. 19 come from behind wings for Cleveland. 10 of them in this ballpark.
Well, it just seemed like McDowell was getting in a groove by throwing this left-handers down and away, and then jamming them. That ball just moved back out of the plate and it cost him 2 runs. He's jamming a lot of the hitters. Let's take a look at this home run pitch again and watch where it starts. It's supposed to start inside. It starts on the inside part of the plate. See it move back out over the plate? See, that's the mistake that happens, and that's what you get when you get in trouble. Is you try to pitch inside. If you miss by 6 inches to some of these big sluggers, you pay the price. He wanted a straight fastball there, not the one that tailed back out over the plate.
Just off the outside. It is 2-2 to Manny Ramirez. Ramirez, Dave Nelson, Cleveland's first base coach, been around the game a long while. Pretty good base stealer in his time. Thinks that Manny Ramirez has the kind of abilities that he can win a triple crown. Hitting for power, hitting for average. And now it is 3-2 to Manny Ramirez. No, ball 4. Yeah, no, that was ball 3. I was right. Ramirez was remiss.
Well, he fooled us all. You're right.
He didn't fool Al Clark.
No.
Worth a try, though. Right? They need base runners. He took off. Maybe they'd agree with him.
Well, it's a slider away. Well, actually, that's a fork ball down. And he doesn't swing at it, but he thinks it's ball 4, or, as you say, trying to fool Al Clark. But Al has an indicator, so he knows what the score is.
Now it is 3-2 to Manny Ramirez. There's Al. He's been around too long. Be fooled by that. Struck him out. And the side is retired. Well, we got 3 innings to go now. We head to the late innings. The Yankees are still ahead, but not by quite as much. Fernandez coming up. McDowell and the Yankees. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball from Cleveland. 7-4 Yanks as we head to the 7th inning. Now coming up Wednesday night. Wednesday Night Baseball, a doubleheader on ESPN. Fred McGriff, he hit one today in the Atlanta Braves against the red-hot Cincinnati Reds. Here in Cincinnati and Cleveland, they're talking about an all-Ohio World Series, and they're the 2 hottest clubs around. Then at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific, Gary Gaetti, he has resurrected his career, and the Kansas City Royals taking on the California Angels, 2 of the most surprising teams in the American League. Chili Davis had 3 more RBIs today, and he's hitting .364. So don't miss it. Big doubleheader on ESPN Wednesday Night Baseball, starting at 7:30, 4:30 Pacific on Wednesday. Cincinnati today beat Montreal 10-7. Cincinnati is now 30-9 since that 1-8 start. And as you see, Jim Poole, the veteran left-hander, comes on now in relief for Cleveland. He's the 3rd pitcher for Cleveland. Tony Fernandez will lead it off against him. I came to Cleveland earlier this week, and I was walking through the terminal at Cleveland Airport. 2 guys are arguing, and it's a baseball argument. The one guy, I don't know how it started, but the one guy says, "Are you kidding me? We're talking about the best team in Major League Baseball here." Strike 1 to Fernandez. And yeah, they've got pennant fever. The other guy says, "Are you kidding me? That's baloney. They're not even the best team in the state." Well, obviously they were talking about the Reds and the Indians. And I mean, when's the last time in the state of Ohio they bragged about, you know, which team is better? I mean, Cincinnati's had a lock on that for years. And now all of a sudden you got the Indians 34-12, Cincinnati 31-17.
Well, they're both 2 very good ball clubs, and what we'll have to wait and see with the new playoff format, anyone can get into the World Series because they can knock someone off in a short series.
Yeah. And wouldn't that be a shame if you've had a great year? There's Cincinnati atop the Central by 6 over the Cubs, who've been fading of late. In the American League Central, Kansas City lost today against Oakland. Kansas City, unfortunately, is in the wrong division. They're having a pretty good year, despite trading away David Cone. Baenga throws out Fernandez, and there is one away. Now let's go back to Carl Ravitch for an update.
All right, John, talking about the Reds, here's how they got their 31st win. Reggie Sanders. Reggie Sanders into the upper deck. This is how Cincinnati got their 31st win. Only 2 balls recently have been hit into the upper deck, and Sanders has hit them both. John and Joe.
Thanks, Carl. Randy Velarde smokes one right at Poole. Poole gets the put out with with the throw to Sorrento. Sorrento gets the put out. And let's see if Poole's all right. Looks like he is.
Well, it's interesting, John. You look at the Cincinnati Reds, and they're talk. You know, most of the talk has been about Ron Gant and how well he's done. But Reggie Sanders was leading the team in runs batted in, had just as many home runs. And, you know, he is a powerful hitter, and he's getting better each year.
Here is Bernie Williams. Well, the Yankees are hoping that one day something like that will happen for Bernie Williams, like a Reggie Sanders story, that he'll one day blossom. They've always felt he's had the talent, but it has never been fully realized with the Yanks. He runs well. He's got some pop. He's a switch hitter. 2 down, nobody on. We're the 7th. The Yankees lead Cleveland 7-4. We're getting a look at this Cleveland bullpen now. There's a slider for strike one swinging. Once you get into this bullpen with the likes of Jim Poole, Paul Ossenmacher, another veteran lefty. They got right-handers like Eric Plunk, who's really resurrected his career here. Also, Greg Olson, you saw sitting there with the mustache on the left side of your picture, the bullpen. And closer, Jose Mesa, who's just been an incredible story here. This Cleveland bullpen has been outstanding. Now, last year, you know, they also had a great hitting club, but their bullpen was terrible. And this year, Mike Hargrove has put together what has turned into just an exceptional bullpen. Thome. It's turning into the Jim Thome show, isn't it? Remember the defensive play he made, robbing the Yankees of a run? Then his homer got 2 back. 7-4. All right, Carl. And here comes the Cleveland Indians now with Paul Sorrento. Started off. He'll be followed by Tony Pena, and then leadoff man Kenny Lofton against Jack McDowell. Now, McDowell has had a couple of games this year where he has been ahead in the late innings, and he faltered, and then the bullpen came on, and it also couldn't handle it. Won in the final game of their West Coast road trip in Seattle. There's ball 1 to Sorrento, which was particularly distressing. And they eventually lost that game in extra innings 11-9 to the Mariners. They also had one against Baltimore back in May at Yankee Stadium. McDowell left with a 5-3 advantage, and John Wetland came on and got clobbered in the 9th inning.
Well, they feel like Wetland is throwing the ball right now the way they wanted him to throw it at the beginning of the season. They also mentioned to me that Steve Howe is starting to throw the ball much better. So maybe the Yankees closers will be able to hold some of these leads for McDowell and some of the other starters.
It is now 2-1. Well, is he going to go back to the inside on the fist here to Sorrento?
I don't think so. I think he just, right now, he's trying to just keep the ball down. I think he's learned his lesson and trying to come in on Thome. He's trying to stay away now. And I think he should now. I mean, he has a 7-4 lead. I think you just have to try to get some ground balls to your infielders. And you do that by just throwing the fastball away and the sinker down and away.
88 pitches for McDowell. Deep in the right center. O'Neill's not even going for it. Way back there. A tremendous home run for Sorrento. It's a 2-run game now.
Well, McDowell fell behind in a count 3-1. And with a 3-run lead, you have to try to throw a strike. And that's dangerous against the sluggers on the Cleveland Indians. He throws a strike. It looks like it's the middle of the plate. And Sorrento just hits it out of the ballpark. But this is what you have to do if you're Jack McDowell. You're ahead by 3. You have to throw a strike on 3-1. And you have to give the hitter credit. He hit it out of the ballpark.
Home run number 13 for Sorrento. And Jack McDowell, well, he knew where it was headed as well. He didn't even take a look. O'Neill did not even react to it in right field. And a mighty cut by Tony Pena. He whacked one near the top of the left field wall down the line his last time for a double. Paul Sorrento, 13 homers in 114 at-bats. He's a platoon player. The platoon player ever made the All-Star team? He's among the league leaders in home runs. 13 homers. And 35 runs batted in for Sorrento. His replacement against a left-hander yesterday was Herb Perry, and Perry hit 2 home runs.
Good pitch. Good pitching there by McDowell. And that's the sign of a veteran pitcher there. He just bounces back. He gave up the home run to Sorrento, but he disposes of Tony Pena with 3 pitches. First pitch, fastball in, then fastball away, and here it is right out there on the outside corner. Strike 3, and McDowell does the job.
Well, Tony seemed to think it was too far outside, but if that's a strike, he better call for a few out there himself when he gets back behind the plate. 1 out. Now Kenny Lofton is up. It's a 2-run game. The Yankees, who had led 7-2, now lead 7-5. Lofton, 2 singles, 2 runs scored, and he takes a strike, and now Lofton is upset. Now, did he say he bunted at it?
I don't know. It looked. Well, Lofton says the pitch was high.
I think he did not bunt at it. It was just called a strike, and Lofton can't believe it either way.
Well, let's look at the pitch. Well, you know, it doesn't look high to me, but then it depends on which strike zone you're using.
Well, the fans are really getting on Al Clark now. 1 out, nobody on. A run is in. Curveball. And Lofton gets the call of that one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bullpen activity for the Yankees is McDowell starting to lose his edge here in the late innings. Popped up. Mattingly and foul line. And Lofton is out number 2.
John, I don't know if McDowell is losing anything in this ball game. You have to remember that these hitters have now all seen him 3 times. And these are good hitters, as we talked about earlier. And if you see a pitcher 3 times and you're a good hitter, you're going to hit the ball hard sometimes off of it. So I think it's, well,
and now here comes Hargrove.
Yeah, McDowell is very upset. He says, hey, they're slowing me down. Let's go.
Now, I don't know. We were looking at the replay and at the bullpen there, but Kenny Lofton just came running out after Al Clark, and now Hargrove picks up the argument. Now Hargrove will head back to the dugout as well, and again, I'm not sure what was going on as to why this argument started up again.
Well, I'll only say one thing about that, John, and the fact is that the first pitch was, that first call was a strike, but it was only the first strike, so I don't know why you would get that upset over the first pitch being called a strike, whether it was a high or low or whatever. That's only 1 strike.
Omar Vizquel. And it is 2-0. In the bullpen, as you saw, right-hander Bob Wickman and left-hander Steve Howe. Here they are, getting ready just in case. 2 down, nobody on. 7-5 Yankees. 89 miles an hour with that fastball. That's about where he's been all night long with the fastball.
I really do not think that he's lost a lot. It's just the fact that you have some good hitters on the Cleveland Indians, and they've seen him 3 times. So now they know exactly what to expect.
Over the middle, but there's Fernandez. Quick throw just in time. And that's it. We're heading to the 8th inning. Polonia, top of the order for the Yanks against left-hander Jim Poole. Luis Polonia, 0 for 3 with a walk. Look out. He hits the deck. Now, when we went to commercial, Al Clark received a standing boo from the crowd here in Cleveland. They really gave it to Al.
And if you want to be frank about it, John, I think this is one of the concerns the umpires have about expanding the strike zone after the All-Star break or next year. You know, that it's going to cause a lot of problems and a lot of arguments from the players who are supposedly used to a smaller strike zone now. And I know that umpires I've talked to are concerned about that.
It's a bad idea to start with.
In the middle of the season.
It's a bad idea, period. Point out the fan in this ballpark to me who's upset that the score tonight is 7-5. Point out the person who is not having a good time here tonight. Fly ball to center. Lofton goes back. And there is one away. Polonia, the only Yankee without at least 1 hit in the lineup tonight. I mean, what I'm saying, there are things you can do to speed up the game. You could start by, you know, making the time shorter between innings. It would cost teams a lot of money.
Yeah,
ESPN's not going to give him as much money, but that would shorten the games considerably. If they want to do that, let's start there.
Well,
but I don't see anybody who sat in this ballpark tonight saying, man, I hope this game is short. That's not why they came tonight. They came to see some home runs. They came to see some offense.
Well, I think the real concern is for the pitching. The pitchers are saying that there's not a strike zone anymore, and they need one in order to do their job.
1 ball, 1 strike. And yet I've heard umpires say the strike zone has not changed in 25 years of veteran umpires.
Well, it has changed. One umpire's individual strike zone may not have changed, but overall the strike zone has changed.
Well, they changed the strike zone in 1963, and baseball went into a period of decline where by 1968 baseball was considered dead. The one 300 hitter in the entire American League. And it's getting on Clark again. This goes 2-1 on Boggs. I think they need to be very careful when they start talking about tinkering with stuff like that again. It hurt the game badly in the 60s. And I don't understand the idea of saying the game is hurting right now, and so we're going to go back to what did not work in our previous history to try and make the game better.
Well, one thing about all the home runs, John, you're losing a lot of subtleties of the game, and you may end up 5 years from now with every team getting 6'3", 250-pound players at every position, and you lose the subtleties of baseball, the bunt, the hit and run. You lose some of the subtleties of the game when all that counts is a home run, and I think that's what some of the baseball people are concerned with.
Well, and baseball's been there before. In the 1950s, that's the way every team played the game. High foul out of play down the left field line. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is,
I agree. I mean,
in the 1960s, Roger Maris hit 61 homers. The Yankees hit 240 that year. The next year, there was expansion of the National League, and huge home run totals again over there. And the powers that be said, this is bad. Ruth's record's been broken. It's out of hand. They raised the mound, and they enlarged the strike zone, and baseball's offensive statistics went downhill, and the game went downhill, and attendance went downhill. Strike 3 call. Boggs caught looking.
Yeah, but
He's
see
1
now,
for 5.
yeah, but see now they love Al Clark.
What a great umpire.
Well, let me give you one other point. I do not want baseball to turn into something like the NBA or some other sports where the home team seems to get more calls because the umpires are under a lot of pressure. That's the one thing about baseball. There's not so much the home team calls, so to speak, as you get in some of the other sports. But I mean, I agree that it's a very thin line here between what's right and what's wrong. I don't disagree with you there.
I think baseball is making a mistake with the people they're asking about the length of the game. Sports writers, broadcasters, people who are paid to be here should not be asked. The people who pay to buy tickets, I think, should be asked. And I don't see anybody leaving this ballpark tonight. It's a work day tomorrow. And why are they selling out every game here? They love what they're seeing. If we had a poll of these people, would they say, yeah, I want the Indians to score less. It'll make the game shorter. No, they want the Indians to score more. They're getting a lot of runs, and they want even more than that. They love it.
I would hope that they did go and ask some fans now before they made these recommendations. I would certainly hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying that I know they did, but
I don't know either, but I would certainly hope
did they
so.
love the Big Red Machine in 75 and 76? Did you get some big crowds to watch those clubs?
Yeah.
You guys scored a ton of runs. Exciting baseball. That's the inning. The Yankees go down in order. O'Neill is retired. It'll be the big guns, Baerga, Bell, and Murray. Now Cleveland is down by just 2. We'll be back. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Miller High Life and High Life Light. Always smooth, always easy drinking. And by Microsoft. Where do you want to go today? John Miller, Joe Morgan with you from Jacobs Field, Cleveland. We go to the last of the 8th inning now. It'll be Baerga, Bell, and Murray, the numbers 3, 4, and 5 hitters in this very potent Cleveland offense against Jack McDowell.
Normally, John, you would say this is a key inning for the Yankees. They're facing the 3, 4, 5 hitters.
That is a base hit. The second hit for Baerga. And Bell is coming up, and he's the possible tying run. And they're on their feet here at Jacobs Field.
But, John, even if he wars through these 3 hitters, he still has 3 more in the bottom of the 9th. Or the Yankees do.
They've got Thome, Ramirez, and Sorrento there in the last part of the order. Here comes Buck Showalter now. And he's signaling to the bullpen with the right-hander, and I think that's Wickman. We cannot see into the bullpen. There he is. That's Wickman. So Wickman gets the call. That's all for McDowell. 7-5 Yankees. Wickman coming in to face Bell. We'll be back. Jack McDowell departs ahead, but only by 2. He was ahead by 5. A couple of home runs made the game a little bit tighter. 5 runs, 10 hits. No walks for McDowell. But Thome and Sorrento, those 2 big thumpers, low in the batting order, both took him deep. And there's Bob Wickman. Got a great sinker.
Very good sinker, and that's exactly what they want at this time. They want to get a ground ball and try to keep the ball on the ground with these big sluggers coming up.
So here comes Albert Bell, and you hear the reaction of the crowd. Bell is the possible tying run with Baerga at first. Nobody out in the 8th inning. Batted in. 326 average. Chased the sinkers. Strike 1. A little over anxious perhaps in that one. It was the Albert Bell official target out on the huge scoreboard. And maybe he's capable of hitting it even that far. Nobody's ever hit one up to the scoreboard yet. If it's ever done, I suppose Albert will be the first to do it. Strike 2 Bell. 3 for 8 with a home run in the past against Wickman. Wickman got that great sinker. He lost part of his index finger in a farming accident when he was a kid, and he just seems to have a natural sinker.
Well, he says he can't throw the ball straight. But the only way that Bell's going to really hurt him is if he makes a mistake and gets the ball up and on the middle of the plate. The first 2 pitches have been down, and you're not going to get hurt with a sinker down and away.
1-2 to Bell. Eddie Murray is on deck. That last pitch on our Jugs got it 93 miles an hour, which I don't know about that. It's pretty quick for Bob Wickman.
Yes, for a guy that throws a sinker.
And he lunges for it and just barely gets a piece of it. Staying alive. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Good pitches by Wickman. He just stays down there. He's not going to get hurt, but there's always a danger of one of those sinkers moving towards Bell.
Did he swing?
Yes.
Yes, strike 3. The first base umpire, Barnett, on the appeal. And that is out number 1.
Well, it's a good smart pitch here by Wickman because he knows Bell's looking for the sinker, so he throws him a slider, and Bell cannot hold up. That is smart pitching, and maybe a good call there by Mike Stanley, but good coordination between the pitcher and the catcher there. Very smart pitch.
So Bell back to the dugout, and Eddie Murray comes up. We're talking about Bell and his new candy bar, and part of the veteran influence in this ball club when he did not show up for the press conference. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Eddie Murray kind of took Bell aside in private and counseled him on the fact that that was not the way to go about his business. So here's Eddie. Still 11 hits away from 3,000. He's 0 for 3 in this one. He is the possible tying run. Strike call.
Another good pitch by Wickman. If you're Eddie Murray, you know that Wickman's best pitch is a sinker, and that's what happened to Albert Bell. He knew that his best pitch was a sinker, and that's what he was looking for. And Wickman threw Bell a slider, and he could not check his swing.
One out by Edgar at first. Too far outside. Now both Bell and Murray have been held down tonight. The two of them 1 for 7 with just a single to show. But the man on deck, Jim Thome, has hit a 2-run homer tonight.
I think what you'll see here is that Eddie's a little more disciplined at the plate in these situations than Albert Bell is.
A ball. Now it's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Murray. Bob Wickman is one of those pitchers out of the Yankee bullpen that you were talking about earlier, Joe, who is off to a bad start this year, but is starting to get it together now. He's got great stuff. A lot of managers have coveted his sinker ball for their bullpens over the years. There's Bull Connors in the dugout, the pitching coach, with Buck Showalter. 1-2 to Eddie Murray. Struck him out.
Pitch.
Well, the guy must have good stuff. He strikes out first Bell, then Murray, but still, he's not where he needs to be. 1 more to go.
Well, this ball explodes away from Eddie. Watch, it starts over the plate, and it just explodes outside. See that ball really run away from him? Just an excellent pitch there by Wickman.
And with Jim Thome due up, Buck Showalter has run to the mound, and he has signaled in his left-hander. And I believe that last of the 8th inning, Yanks 7, Indians 5, and Steve Howe on the pitch now against Jim Thome. Thome, who really turned this game around in the 6th inning. The Yankees batting, as you see Howe's numbers, not very good. 5.93 ERA. Thome with Chartable batting in the 6th made this spectacular play. He saved a run, and it was the final out of the inning. Incredible. Then in the last of the inning, he launched a 2-run home run, a soaring, magnificent high fly ball homer that cut into that Yankee lead. So he saved at least 1 and then gave them 2 all in the same inning. Now he's trying to tie it up. Whoa. A mighty cut. Strike 1 by Edgar at first base. 2 down.
Good fastball up and under the hands by Howe. That's exactly where Jack McDowell was trying to throw the ball when he hit the ball out in the 6th inning. If you get the ball up and in, you can handle him. But you better not make a mistake out over the plate.
Did it again. He's coming right after it with a high hard one.
Well, I personally didn't understand why he was taking Wickman out, who could not give up a home run because of his sinker. The ball's not going to be hit out of the infield, let alone hitting the seats. But he wanted to bring the left-hander in to face Thome, and I guess he figures that Howe's fastball runs into Thome, and that's where they want to pitch him.
Thome has held his own against lefties this year. Up the middle. And through. Base hit. And so Thome crosses him up. Now the right-handed hitter comes up. Josias Manzanillo and John Wetland, a couple of right-handers, are both warming up in the Yankee bullpen. But you've got the right-hander Ramirez coming up, and then another tough lefty. Here's the bullpen. It's Wetland on the left, Manzanillo on the right. Got Sorrento, who also is homer tonight, and who also is left-handed on deck. So bringing him in to face Thome, Joe, not only you take out Wickman, who's had the great stuff with the sinker, keeping the ball down and likely in the ballpark.
Right.
But now having allowed the hit to Thome, he almost has to leave him in there to face well.
No,
maybe not. Maybe not. Here he comes. He spoke too soon. He's got the right-handers out there, and he's calling for one of them. We'll find out which one. It's going to be Wetland, the closer. 2 men on, 2 men out. Wetland coming in. Yanks lead by 2. There is John Wetland, formerly the Montreal Expos. He became a big star as the closer for the Expos, and then with their financial problems, they traded into the Yankees at the end of the strike this year. And Wetland with some pretty good numbers, but also he's blown 2 or 3 ball games.
Yeah.
2 men on by Edgar at second, and Thome, the possible tying run over there first with Davey Nelson, the first base coach, and the hitter, the New Yorker, the man who grew up not far from Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, Manny Ramirez. Ramirez hitless tonight, but the first time he ever went to Yankee Stadium, In the first week that he came to the big leagues, he had a double and a couple of homers at the big ballpark. So he's hit well against the Yanks for the very first time that he ever played against him. And now he got the power versus power matchup here. And Showalter, in effect, Joe, he made his final move now.
Yes, I think Wetland's there until they win the ball game, or at least until Cleveland ties it.
He's seen his ball club so many times already in this young season. Pull-out victories in games just like this. They were down 7-2. They are down 7-5. 2 men on, 2 men out. Last of the 8th. Ball 1. Yankees bullpen this year has had 9 saves altogether, and they've blown 8. So not a very good record. Wetland with 8 saves in 10 save chances. All the way. And that's his big pitch, the fastball. He's just a hard power guy.
Yeah, but the ball is not sinking. He has a good sinker as well. That pitch there was just a good fastball. And, you know, if the ball doesn't sink, Ramirez can get the ball in the air and hit it out of here. So you have to be a little more careful if you're Wetland and not get that ball in the middle of the plate as he did there. That was the first fastball he had seen over the plate, so he was maybe a little late on it. But now he knows the speed of that fastball. He may be able to catch up with it if you get it in the middle of the plate again.
Wetland worked a perfect 9th inning for a save here Friday. Very high with the 92-mile-an-hour fastball. And then he just looks like he's rearing back and firing it, Joe.
Yeah, and that's not the John Wetland that I knew in the National League. I mean, he used the sinker a little bit. The ball used to sink a little bit more. He always threw hard, but the ball sunk. And this is a riding fastball he's throwing tonight.
2-1. Oh.
Yeah, good riding fastball, 90 miles an hour, up and in.
Two and two now to Manny Ramirez. Paul Sorrento on deck. He would be next. Baerga at second, Thome at first, both better to go on anything. Cleveland trailing by 2. Cleveland bullpen very busy right now. 7-5 New York. 2-2 the count. Here it is. Just barely getting a piece of it to stay alive.
That's 94 miles an hour, so he's heating it up a little bit.
Wetland had 25 saves before the strike last year, but he also had 10 blown saves, which is a very big figure for 2/3 of a season. However, Felipe Alou, his manager there in Montreal, said it's always in the summertime that he gets it going, and then he becomes dominating. He seems to have trouble in the early months. 2-2. 2 on, 2 out. And 3-2. Now they'll both be running, and that's an advantage for Thome, the possible tying run. And an extra base hit now. Thome, who does not run that well, without those extra few steps at the beginning. Baerga and Thome ready to run. There they go. Struck him out. Wetland wins the duel with Manny Ramirez, and that's the 3rd time tonight Ramirez has struck out against the Yankees. Yanks are still ahead. We go to the 9th. It'll be Stanley, Mattingly, and Tarnable coming up. 7-5, New York. John and Joe back here in Cleveland. I'm John. He's Joe.
Hey, John, where'd you get that tie? It says Dad.
Hey, your daughter came surprised you for Father's Day with a visit here in Cleveland. It's my 7-year-old, Alexander. Custom made me this tie as a Father's Day gift. I'm thinking of having him start a whole line of ties, the Alexander Miller collection. What do you think? So happy Father's Day to all of you, and and we're here together again on our 6th Father's Day together.
And speaking of
I feel
Father's
like-
Day, next week we see Barry Bonds and his father, Bobby.
Yeah, the Giants and the Dodgers from Dodger Stadium. Our next Sunday night baseball telecast next Sunday, 7:56 Eastern, 4:56 Pacific. You know, 6 straight Father's Day working with you, Joe, on Sunday
You're
night
right.
baseball. I feel almost like you're my dad.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute.
Hey, look, Dad, a new pitcher's come on for Cleveland. Yeah, that's the kind of respect I have for you, Dad.
Okay.
Well, and happy Father's Day to my father out in Redding, California. They tune in every Sunday to watch the ball game.
My father in Oakland, California. All right.
There. Here is Mike Stanley against Eric Plunk. Plunk, a one-time Yankee, and he did not have success there, but his career got going again here in Cleveland.
Well, Plunk's one of those guys with a great arm, and everyone's always waited for him to just become a dominant pitcher, but he has pitched very, very well since he's come to Cleveland, and he does have a great fastball and a slider.
7-5, Yanks ahead. Stanley has walked and scored. He's flied out. He has doubled and scored, and he has hit into a double play. 1 for 3. He's hitting .290. And it's 1-2. Now, by getting Ramirez in the strikeout, John Wetland has set himself up in the 9th inning where he'll have to face one big power hitter. That's Sorrento. But Sorrento leads off. He can't come up in a spot where he could tie the game against him. Then you got Pena, Lofton, Vizquel, 3 straight guys who don't hit many homers. Shallow right, Manny Ramirez. And that is out number 1. Tonight, the MetLife blimp Snoopy 2 is cruising the skies here above Cleveland, above Jacobs Field. The blimp travels over 60,000 miles a year to cover sporting events and television specials across the United States. We're glad to have them with us tonight. Here in Cleveland, which is at the moment the center of the baseball universe. Mattingly with his 3rd hit of the game. 4th time he's reached. He also has walked intentionally. And that's got to bring a smile to Buck Showalter's face. I mean, they count on Mattingly to go out there and hit his 310, 320 every year with his run production.
Well, it's really it brings a big smile to Don Mattingly's face because he has played through injuries and not being able to see the ball well. And as I said before, he told me that it's been about a week now he started to see the ball exceptionally well.
Yeah.
But he had developed bad habits from not seeing it well, and it's going to take him a little while to straighten those bad habits out, and it seems like he's done a good job tonight.
Danny Chartable, 1 for 4 in the game. He doubled home run in the 1st inning. 7-5, the Yanks ahead. The Yanks have led this entire game. And that's a foul out of play. By the way, there's been a lot of talk about the Yankees attempting to trade Chartable. Gene Michael has been quoted as saying there's been no takers so far. There's also been a lot of talk in New York in the papers there about the Yankees perhaps signing Darryl Strawberry, bringing him back into the majors, but we have no news of any such signing. And a lot of the people who cover the Yankees thought that something would be announced today, but there has been no such announcement. And when you go to the Yankees clubhouse, talk to some of the players about the Strawberry signing, one response you get there is, Strawberry, can he pitch? Because that's been the real problem for the Yankees. And Chartable. I mean, Chartable's been a problem because he's not producing. And he seems to be healthy. I mean, they need him to put up the big numbers. I mean, they count on him to get the 25 homers, the 100 RBIs every year. 3-1 the count. And a walk.
Well, this is one of the problems that Eric Plunk has had throughout his career, is that he has on occasions lost his rhythm and not been able to throw strikes consistently.
Plunk, it was not unusual for him to have 6-7 walks average per 9 innings, but this year in 25 previous innings only 10 walks with 28 strikeouts. Mike Hargrove has put together with his pitching coach, Mark Wiley. A very effective bullpen. And I was talking to Jim Leland when we were out in San Diego a few weeks ago at the Pirates and the Padres. And Jim Leland made the comment that just reading the box scores and watching the highlights and Baseball Tonight, that sort of thing, he just had the impression that Hargrove was just becoming one of the top managers in the game. He really was impressed with the job he's done. And he particularly mentioned, he said, it looks like he's put together a real good bullpen. He said, I think maybe Mike Hargrove should start being spoken of as one of the top managers in the game. 1 ball and no strikes the count to Tony Fernandez, who was 1 for 3 with a run batted in.
Good play there by Tony Pena. We talked about how well he's played tonight defensively, and that's another example. If that ball bounces away, the Yankees will have runners at second and third, and all they need is a fly ball to get an insurance run. But again, that's the problem that Eric Plunk has had throughout his career.
You know, when you talk about Hargrove, as Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, is out there, another thing comes up when you're 34-12. As Sparky Anderson has said so many times, you've got to win. I mean, you can't allow yourself to have a slump and then not win the division. When you go 34-12 at the start of the year, you're expected to win. And I asked Hargrove about that, if that was something to keep him awake at nights, worrying that maybe the club won't hold up. And he said, hey, we were kind of expected to win by the ownership here before the season ever started. So he thought nothing had changed, really. Albert Bell gives chase, but it's back out of play. As you saw, Sports Center comes up next right after the ball game. Stay tuned. We're in the 9th inning. Yanks ahead 7-5 and trying to add to their lead. They were ahead 7-2. Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann all set to bring you the day in sports on Sports Center coming up. Well, he's in danger now of loading up the bases. 3-1 to a very tough hitter, Tony Fernandez. There is Mattingly, who hit a 1-out single, and Tartabull over at first, who walked. Left center, long run for Lofton. He'll have to play it off the wall. Mattingly heading home. He'll score. Tartabull stops at third, and Fernandez has a stand-up double. And the Yankees get a big run and lead it 8-5.
And that was good base running there by Tartabull. He was going all the way. He knew that ball was over Lofton's head, but they stopped him at third because there's only one down here in the top of the 9th inning. Well, Plunk gets a high fastball up and out over the plate to Fernandez, and he drives it to left center field, and the ball carries real well in that area. And you see Lofton play it off the wall. Now the Indians are going to bring the infield in because they cannot afford to give up any more cheap runs this inning.
Randy Velarde, the hitter. He is 2 for 4 with a run battered in. Popped up, shallow right. Bayerga calling off Sorrento. Tartabull tags at third and then bluffs down the line. And the throw comes in. That was kind of a dangerous throw. Nobody was backing up at the plate.
And you're right. Eric Plunk was going down the line for some reason, but he should have been backing up home plate.
I don't know what was he going to do at first base on that play. So Velarde is retired. 2 down. 8-5. The Yanks ahead. Cleveland will be coming up with its last chance in the last half of the 9th. As Bernie Williams gets ready to stand in. Bernie 1 for 3 with a run batted in and a walk. Bernie, a switch hitter. Runners at second and third. Slider in the dirt. And that will get a run home. It is 9-5. Tartabull comes in to score.
And I finally see some fans start to exit on that particular pitch and that play. It's a breaking ball that he throws and bounces out in front. You see Tony Pena tried to slide over in front of it, but it went off his glove. And Tartabull came in to score.
Ossenmacher up in the bullpen now for Cleveland, a left-hander. Eric Plunk, a walk, a wild pitch. That walk has turned into one of the runs in this inning now. 4 walks tonight have turned into runs for the Yankees. There have been a total of 7 walks allowed by Cleveland. As we say, 4 of them eventually became runs. Last of the ninth inning, Paul Sorrento, the power hitter, but then Pena, for whom they might pinch hit.
I think they'll pinch hit Kirby for Pena.
Wayne Kirby, a left-handed hitter, then Lofton. They'll need to get some guys on base to get to the big power hitters like Baerga and Bell and Murray. 2-1 to Bernie Williams.
Kirby's the only left-handed hitter they have left over there.
There's Buddy Bell, bench coach for Mike Hargrove, and I see his name come up in a lot of managerial rumors lately. Buddy was just an outstanding third baseman for many years in the big leagues. His son, David, is a prospect in the Cleveland farm system in AAA ball. And Buddy, in fact, with the Chicago White Sox, I hear his name mentioned as a managerial candidate, should things not work out for Terry Bevington. 3-1 the count to Bernie Williams. Right to Baerga. And that does it, but the Yankees get 2 very big runs, and they lead it 9-5 for Wetland as we go to the last of the ninth inning. Last chance for the Clevelands.
At Kelly Springfield, we've been making tires for over 100 years. And at our ripe old age, you might think we'd start to slow down.
Ha! That chance.
Kelly Springfield, America's oldest tire company.
As anyone who has ever owned one of our pickups can tell you, Nissan builds one very tough truck. Now, J.D. Power and Associates has ranked Nissan as the best overall truck line and vehicle dependability at 5 years of ownership in a tie with Toyota. Fortunately, at Nissan, we've developed a tide breaker.
What is it, my feet?
No, the champagne's not Corbel.
Corbel, for people who know champagne.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, last of the ninth here in Cleveland. And for the first time all week, it's quiet here in the ninth. Coming up, Wednesday Night Baseball on ESPN. Fred McGriff and the Atlanta Braves will take on the red-hot Cincinnati Reds. They are 30-9. Barry Larkin is back with the Reds. It'll be Tom Glavine and John Smiley. Good matchup, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Then, Gary Gaetti and the Kansas City Royals, who are playing extraordinarily well. They'll send Tom Flash Gordon out against the Angels. Chili Davis and company. The Angels are playing great ball. First place in the West, Mike Bielecki will go for California in that one. So, a top-notch Wednesday Night Baseball doubleheader coming up on ESPN. Paul Sorrento stands in. And Wetland's fastball called a strike, 0-1. Well, life a lot less complicated for Wetland now. As you've seen Wayne Kirby out on the on-deck circle. He would hit for Pena, due next. And the breaking ball is low because Wetland, instead of just a 2-run lead, now has ahead by 4. He could make a couple of mistakes and still be in good shape. And Sorrento fouls it back out of play. Paul Sorrento used to be with the Minnesota Twins, but never got much of a shot there because Kent Hrbek was the first baseman. And then late one spring, he was traded to Cleveland. And the rest, as they say, is history. Sorrento, the first Cleveland batter to hit a grand slam in this park. He was the first batter at Camden Yards to get a hit, and also the first man to hit a home run in that park. And now, Joe, he's the first platoon player I think is going to get a lot of votes for the All-Star team.
Well, I think that he's having a good season, but a lot of the Indians have made votes for the All-Star team. They're having a great offensive year, and offense usually gets you votes.
And there's a foul back out of play toward the press box. 2-2 to Sorrento. He's a native of Somerville, Massachusetts. They got him from the Twins for Curtis Leskanic, now a pitcher in the Rockies system, and Oscar Munoz, whom we have not heard from since. Sorrento went to Florida State. Right, tight 3-2. He was in the College World Series 1986 in Omaha. Florida State finished second in the World Series that year. Still lives up in New England in Peabody, outside of Boston. 3-2 to Sorrento. There's a high drive deep in the right center. O'Neill is going back, still going back. He's under it. He makes the catch.
Nice play by Paul O'Neill. He played that ball perfectly in that he went back to the wall, got back there in time, timed his leap, and came down with the baseball. See how he gets back there in plenty of time, and then he makes his jump. It would not have been out of the ballpark, but it would have been off the top of the wall, and Sorrento knows he didn't quite get all of it. Otherwise, it would have been a few rows back.
Now here's Wayne Kirby to pinch hit for Pena. Kirby, the lefty, hitting .250. He played Baltimore here Wednesday night. He got word that his wife was in labor at their home in Las Vegas. So he left the ballpark about 10 o'clock, flew to Las Vegas. He said he got there and she was still in labor for another 7 hours before she delivered. Sounded like a long labor to me, but he was glad to have been there for the birth of the couple's child, Wayne Kirby from Williamsburg, Virginia. His wife Kara, and it was their first child. Foul out of play. By the way, Eddie Murray became a father since the end of last year, since the strike of last year. His wife gave birth to the couple's first child, and Eddie was able to be there for the delivery. In fact, the doctor allowed him to assist in the delivery, Joe. Now that's something you never did, right?
No, it's not my job.
I've heard of guys who were actually there, but actually assisting in the birth. Dr. Eddie Murray. 1-2 the count. And he tried to backdoor him with a slider, did Wetland. 2-2 the count. No, the Yankees got Jack McDowell, and then after the strike ended, they picked up Wetland to go at the club they already had on the field. Some people thought that they had the division title all wrapped up in the East. Down on strikes goes Kirby. Well, tonight, the Yanks have played like the ball club that everybody expected them to be.
Well, John Wetland throws in the 90s, and this is a fastball away from Kirby, and it tails away a little bit, and Kirby can't catch up with it.
2 down, and Kenny Lofton, the last chance for the Cleveland Indians. The Yankees 1 out away from winning a series from Cleveland. And the Yankees, of course, are hoping that that will get them headed back toward the division race once again after a terrible slump that has lasted for nearly a month. Strike 1 to Lofton, and Buck Showalter hoping that his ball club would starting to look healthy again. Will do something, but I think, you know, Joe, with all the talk about Darryl Strawberry, but the Yankees, if they're going to go get somebody, ought to go get a pitcher if they can. It doesn't look like Key is going to be back this year.
Well, they're waiting for Kamenicki and also Perez. I mean, they're missing Melito Perez also.
But Perez is supposed to work tomorrow.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And there's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Kamenicki's
who I was
they're hoping he'll be back maybe by sometime around the All-Star break.
What I was talking about, they had missed. He was out for a while earlier in the year, and I didn't know he was back yet.
1-2. Lofton fouls it away. Lofton hitting .340. 2 for 4 tonight. They need to get 2 base runners to get Baerga to the plate. And they need 3 straight guys to get on base to get Bell up there as the possible tying run. So Wetland has got everything in his favor now. 2 down, nobody on, a 4-run lead, and a 1-ball, 2-strike count to Lofton. Jack McDowell 1 strike away from his 3rd win. 2-2. O'Neill a home run for the Yankees tonight. Yankees hit the ball well. They jumped out early on a pitcher who had control problems, Nagy. And then they were able to withstand the late inning onslaught of the Cleveland offense. 3-2, which of course has not been easily done this year. The Red Sox here in Cleveland tomorrow for a 3-game series, and the Yankees will go to Baltimore for a 3-game series beginning tomorrow. Struck him out on ball 4. And the Yankees have won the ball game and have taken this series and have cooled off the red-hot Cleveland Indians. Final score tonight, 9-5. McDowell the winner, Nagy the loser. Wetland with his 9th save. Sports Center is coming up next. We want to remind you to join us next Sunday from Dodger Stadium. The Giants and the Dodgers, 8 Eastern. Now from Cleveland, John Miller for Joe Morgan. Thanks for watching, everyone. Good night.